Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of 3 Point Weekly. We were big fans of the Sacramento Kings over the offseason, and in lieu of their 6-game winning streak, we're going to start off today talking about those Sacramento Kings and why they have been so good. I'm going to give it off to Gabe first, as he had him as his 10th best point guard headed into the season, and he is certainly not disappointed as someone who looks like he could make an all-star appearance this season.
We saw flashes when Sabonis came to the team last year, but he was getting pretty efficient and pretty highly effective. And this season, if my stats are correct, around 38% from three for De'Aaron Fox. For him, that is an insane clip. Not just him, but this team's entire offense is firing on all cylinders. You've seen big games from Terrence Davis. Kevin Huerter's been really good. Malik Monk has had some really big moments for them. Just across the board, that backcourt play, and then just their bench play has been pretty impressive too as of late. Now, over this stretch, defense has not been amazing. So I think if they do have to key in on something, they're going to have to key in a little bit more on defense as they sort of probably heat down a little bit from the three-point shooting, because maintaining that level of shooting for an entire season is probably not too reasonable. But just overall, being fifth in this Western Conference that I think all of us called stacked before the season began, and with me maybe being the highest on this team, having them at 10, what they're doing right now is, I know we were positive on them coming into the season, but I think even exceeded our expectations.
Yeah, I think when we talked about them in our Western Conference rankings, we all kind of knew the defense would be bad, but the offense is getting to what we hoped it would be, maybe even better than what we thought, because they're historically good right now. So if that keeps up, who knows? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But it's just been so fun to watch, man. They're playing with that pace that we were hoping that they would. Like you mentioned, De'Aaron has been amazing, but they've been getting contributions everywhere, man. Malik Monk's had some big games. Harrison Barnes had a nice game the other night. Hopefully he can pick it up because, we talked about their defense. He's a key piece in this team, probably trying to get into that play-in or playoff race. So, hopefully they keep it up, man. Shout out to Mike Brown, because he's definitely got this team playing a lot different, which is definitely good to see. And we came in the last episode a little kind of sketchy on the Kings. So it's good to see them picking up the pace, a 6-game win streak, which is you never see that with the Sacramento Kings. So it's definitely good that they're playing great basketball right now.
Yeah, over a decade and a half since we've seen such as long a win streak from Sacramento. So definitely good to see. As you mentioned, Mike Brown deserves a lot of credit. Some of the offensive sets they've been running have just been so productive. Sure, the guys are hitting the shots, but he's been getting guys in a lot of really good opportunities, which already this soon into the season, from a first-year head coach and first year in Sacramento, is very much deserving of credit from him. Like you said, it's a lot of contributions everywhere. De'Aaron Fox is playing at an all-star caliber level. Sabonis, after not getting involved a lot early on in the season, has been better since. His offensive rebounding has proved very productive. I mean, down the stretch last night, he was ridiculous on the offensive glass, just continuing to get second chance opportunities. But it's really been that shooting from secondary guys that's really helped. Kevin Huerter has taken another step this year. He's gotten a little bit more opportunity as well in Sacramento. He's playmaking better. He's showing that he can do a little bit more off the dribble, but he's just been honestly, he's been one of my players I've enjoyed watching the most so far this year, to see his growth in Sacramento. They're just really firing on all cylinders right now offensively. And like you guys said, that probably isn't going to continue to that level from a 3-point shooting standpoint, but they have the pieces to continue to be a borderline top 5 offense for the rest of the year. Will they be at number 2 right behind Boston for the rest of the year as far as offensive rating? Probably not, but they're going to be right in that picture. And if they can pick up the pieces defensively, there's no reason why they can't remain in the playoff hunt.
Yeah, I think a thing with this Kings team that I really want to highlight overall is just think of the last time, not the last time they made the playoffs, but just the last time that this team was really on an upswing. And that was that last Dave Yeager year when they finished as a 9 seed and were a really solid team all around. And I think the big thing with that team was they had that pace. You had a point guard that was super speedy. You want to push the ball down the court. You had some young guys and just go, go, go. Obviously, your defense wasn't the best, so you have some offensive potential, and you were just straight playing quick. And this year, I think they've gotten back to the top, among the top of the league in pace. And so just Mike Brown coming in, looking at what was working before that then did not work in the Luke Walton era and sort of riding the shit back to where it was, it makes me like really happy to see that because I liked watching that Kings team back, and I think that was around like 2018 or 19, whatever that was. So like, just I wish they wouldn't have went so off course when they did, but seeing a De'Aaron Fox-led team play with a high pace is just so fun to watch.
Yeah, and like the offense being so good is probably what's best for like them because that'll give you the chance to at least be a playing team. Like we've seen it like last season, the Hawks weren't very good defensively. They were able to make the play and ultimately the playoffs. And same thing with like the Hornets. The Hornets were not a good defensive team, but they were so good offensively that they were able to win regular season games. And it's good to win these games early on in the season too. So maybe they can have a little bit of a cushion when we get to, the later games in the year when those games are a little more important. So it's good to see them just playing well right now. Yeah, that Kings team in 2019, Gabe, that you were mentioning, that was such a fun team. But this team probably has the means to be, even a little bit better than that one. So hopefully they can continue to keep this pace, man, because Sacramento deserves some type of playoff basketball, whether it's to play in or if they do make the playoffs. If they do make the playoffs, man, they might have a parade, honestly. Like, it's going to be a sight to see.
Those Pat Bev memes of winning the play-in, like if Sacramento players or fans or anybody acts like that when they make the postseason in any form, I do not care at all. I'm right there with you. I support teams celebrating their successes, and success is relative. And for the Kings, any sort of postseason basketball is an overwhelming success. This is the same fan base that called themselves basketball hell for years. So just getting to even that point, like you can't not be happy for them.
Yeah, 100%. And let me tell you, as someone who played his first year of organized basketball and didn't get a win till the last game of the season, you need to celebrate those types of things, man. So for Sacramento, it's good to see them having success. The other thing I want to point out as far as how this offense is running, especially now over the last 6-game stretch that they've been winning, now that they've got Sabonis a little bit more involved in the offense, they've done a really good job of leveraging the fact that they have 2 very good playmakers on this team. That's always been one of the most underrated part of Sabonis' game is obviously he can score, he's a good rebounder, but he's a really good passer as well, and that gets a little bit underlooked. As far as bigs go, I think he's only second in the league this year in assists to Jokic, which tells you the level he's at right now. Now, when you have Fox who's getting to the rim and creating for others, you have Sabonis' playmaking. You can run so many sets off of that. They have been running a lot of sets off of that. You throw that with their pace. They're about 7th right now in the league in pace, which is what you should be doing with the team that's led by De'Aaron Fox. And full credit to Mike Brown and the Kings. They've done a brilliant job of using the pieces they have well to their best efficiency as far as being able to win basketball games. And hopefully they can keep it going on through the next few weeks and they don't dry out like the Kings typically do.
Yeah,
we're gonna keep firing the laser.
Fire the laser. It's like Sabonis is like a poor man's Jokic, but he's an all-star caliber guy at the same time, which is kind of weird to call him poor man's. But it's crazy watching like his game now because I know you guys remember like his rookie year, he was basically like a corner shooter. Like that's all he did playing with OKC. So it's just crazy to see his development, man. Like now he's a legit guy that can get you like 20, 15, and probably 8 assists on a really good night.
It's that EuroLeague style, man. I really feel like all the EuroLeague players that come in just have that like really solid playmaking background, whether anywhere from 1 to 5. It's like, I guess they're just all become pretty well-rounded just overall, that style of play. So, yeah, the fact that he's gotten more opportunity and honest, like the more we see stuff like that, I think as the next generation of players come in, like you'll see more of that off the rip and you won't see a guy like a Sabonis come in and just be like a corner shooter off rip. I think with that becoming more normal and more common, like teams will be a lot more willing to give those guys the ability and the opportunities to show off a skill set like that.
Yeah, I hope that's the case because there's definitely been a few guys that it depends on team fit and where the team's at as well when they come in because there's been some guys that have come into the league and haven't necessarily been given that opportunity when it wasn't their game. Rui Hachimura is another guy who comes to mind, whereas he came into Washington and it's shoot threes. And he's not bad at it, but he's also not just a 3-point shooter. So some of it just depends on team fit. Some of it depends on, are you a team that's rebuilding and you're given the opportunity, or are you being drafted to an organization that's trying to win? So it varies. I mean, if Sabonis was on a rebuilding team in OKC where they are right now, we might have seen that a lot earlier, but he came into an OKC team that was like, okay, we need to win. We don't get to experiment right now with that. So it varies, but we definitely get to see that situation definitely matters as far as the development of a player goes. It matters so much, especially in the NBA, and Sabonis is definitely proof of that.
Definitely. Yeah, looking back on that trade between the Pacers and the Kings, right now it seems like kind of win-win. Just right now, it seems kind of win-win, man. If the Kings keep this up, I would say it's a win in their book.
Definitely a good benefit to both sides right now. And the fact that De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Halliburton were both players of the week officially named today was pretty funny to see. But full credit to them that they're thriving in their own situation with their own backcourt.
And both teams are pretty fun to watch, I will say that.
Definitely. Speaking of that, Pacers are still winning games. The Pacers have now won 4 in a row, and they are sitting at 9-6.
They got a good roster, man. They really do have a good roster, and Reese is just that good at making guys around him better, getting guys open shots, just generating looks for people while still having a bag himself and getting his own buckets. Such a fun team. Benedict Mathurin has still been hooping. That's Gabe's guy, so we got to shout him out every time we can. And yeah, I mean, as long as they still have Miles Turner on the roster, Buddy Hield, they're probably going to be competitive. I'll say that much, because this roster is a little too talented to just bottom out right now. You know, so unless trades come, and Rick Carlisle is still a good coach. I think people kind of, you know, some kind of sour endings on the Dallas Mavericks era and stuff like that and last season. But Rick Carlisle is still a good coach. You know, he's a championship coach, so he's going to have those guys playing competitive basketball as long as their roster is still competent.
This team is super surprising for a lot of reasons. I do think it's really ironic that they have the same record as the Kings, when it's like, you know, the Kings made the trade they did to maybe win out, and the Pacers were like, okay, kind of limited ceiling, like let's trade and rebuild. But it's like they traded, sort of rebuilt the roster, and are just already winning. And just like, you know, the ability to have young players and already contribute to winning that quickly, like, I think that shows, like, this team, they made a trade that maybe they thought set them back, but it could really get them back into a really good spot quicker than they think. I mean, you already have your backcourt of the future. Miles Turner is playing really well this season, setting career highs in a lot of areas. You know, like, just top to bottom, I think this roster has a lot of pieces that can either be here for a while or just going to continue to up their value if this team wants to make moves. So they have a lot of flexibility. And the fact that they can show success already, I'm not saying they're going to become like a super big free agent destination, but I do think that they're going to make themselves look like a really appealing market and a really good place to be for maybe some role players going forward.
I feel like Indy's always been that kind of place. Like, they can attract like some mid-level, you know, role players to just come in and just fill the gaps that they need. So, and even like you mentioned, like Miles Turner and stuff like, and Buddy Hield, their vets are not like old guys. Like Miles Turner is, it seems like he should be like 30. I think he's like 26, maybe just turned 27. Like he's still kind of young-ish. Like, he's a young vet. So it's like they don't have to make any moves if they don't want to. Now, if the wheels start falling off a little bit, and then it's like, okay, maybe we can benefit bottoming out, getting a top draft pick, then maybe they'll do so. But they're in one of, I think, the best positions that you can be in as a team when you have a lot of young talent. And it's like, if we continue winning and we can get into the playoffs, that's good experience. If not, we get a top draft pick. That's the best spot to be in for an NBA organization that's not a contending team.
Yeah, definitely. And like you say, they're definitely there right now. And I mean, they've gone from a situation where they had a roster, they ran back for a few years, they struggled with injury problems. You moved off of Brogdon, and I think you can say inarguably at this point that they already have a better point guard. And they moved off of Sabonis, and you don't exactly have a big there the caliber of Sabonis, but you still have Miles Turner. You acquired Jalen Smith, and you drafted Isaiah Jackson. So even though you moved off of two all-star caliber guys, you replaced the point guard with an all-star caliber point guard who's going to be much better than Brogdon in his prime, and you still have quality bigs in terms of young guys and Isaiah Jackson and Jalen Smith, and you still have Miles Turner around if you want to re-sign him this summer long-term. So they've done a brilliant job of replacing those pieces they've moved, adding young pieces. Of course, we talk about Benner Matherin and how good he's been to start the season. They've done a great job with these moves. They were probably later than they should have been to make these moves. They were definitely hesitant to start to move on to the next era, but full credit to them. What they've done in the last 10 months has been very good, and the roster has been very good at the same time.
If you had to
Yeah,
pick a
absolutely.
team, if you guys had to pick a team that would make the playoffs between them and the Kings, who are you picking?
I'm picking the Kings.
I'm also picking the Kings.
I think I would lean Sac too.
Yeah,
I think I would.
Just because I know the Kings are going to want to win. As much as the Pacers might continue to play well, 50 games in, they still might pull the plug. Because
they make us look
specifically with
goofy.
Miles Turner, he is going to be a free agent at the end of the year. So I would still expect he is moved at some point. Maybe not, but I would expect it.
That's just one of those teams that's making us look so wrong. Like, I had them as the 15th seed, and I thought it was like a no-brainer decision. I'm like, yeah, this team, like, they're bottoming out. Like, they're finally choosing to take that direction instead of being right in the middle. Completely wrong on them. And wrong on another team. I got to mention this. Like, two weeks later, like, we missed a week, came back. And Utah is still the 1 seed, man. Like, what is –
Yeah.
I got, hot – it's like, okay, maybe they got up to a hot start. One of those teams is just like, okay, like, get out, do some good things. And then, okay, we're going to come back down to earth. But now, like, we're about 20 games into the season. We're almost a quarter into the season, and they're still the 1 seed.
And that's the quarter of the season. That's my, limit on how I feel about a team. So, yeah, it's very 2015 Atlanta Hawks vibes for me. That's kind of vibe I'm getting. Different kind of teams, obviously, but I didn't believe in that Hawks team, all season. Kind of how I feel about Utah in a way, but it's like they were more fun than that Atlanta team was. If they keep it up, man, that's gonna be just one of the craziest stories ever. Like, you got rid of 2 all-star guys, 2 all-NBA caliber players, and you're still a playoff team. And right now you're the 1 seed. So it's like, where's the drop off? Is there one? I'm not sure, but such a fun story, man. Such a fun team to watch. Lowry he's been amazing. Other guys have been hooping. I think Mike Conley I think he's going to be out for a little bit, which kind of sucks, but they kind of got the bodies to replace him if need be. So, they're still the 1 seed 2 weeks later after we recorded that last episode, which is just insane.
I can't believe they just did what they did to the Suns. Lowry, head-to-head, top 2 seeds, and Lowry drops a 38. Book had 49, and they still lost. The Jazz are ridiculous.
Absolutely crazy, man. It seems as though the method for recipe for winning this year is to trade away stars, or at least the Pacers and the Jazz sure think so. But, like you say, Tyrik, I think comparing them to that Hawks team is completely valid to how I feel about them this year as well, because this is too big of a sample size to ignore as far as their regular season success is going to continue. Sure, maybe they'll fall off eventually, but I think this team's just proven too much at this point to show that they're going to have any drastic fall off. This just looks like a team that knows how to win and is going to be at the very least in the playoff picture come the end of the season. Where that ends up being, whether they avoid the play-in, who knows, just given how much any team below them in the West could go on a run and shake things up, of how tight things still are. But there's no doubt they're going to be successful. And the brand of basketball they play is just going to lead to success. It's very heavy on ball movement. It's very heavy on having everyone in that offense involved. And you have a lot of shooters on that team between Kelly Olynyk and Jordan Clarkson and Malik Beasley. And obviously Mike Conley's out for a couple of weeks now, but his creation and playmaking ability that he's always had has been very influential in that. They just have all the right pieces to win a lot of basketball games right now, despite not having that true solidified star. Although, of course, Lauri Markkanen is going to continue to become that if he continues to play the way he has through the first month or so of the season. So give that Utah team a lot of credit. Give the coaching staff of the Jazz a lot of credit for a team that pretty much everyone expected to be bottoming out this year. Trade away 2 arguably top 20, 25 guys in the league, and they are the 1 seed in the Western Conference.
It's just dangerous.
Yeah, and you look at like the state of the West right now. I mean, about 20 games in. We'll round up a little bit. We're about 20 games in. look at all the teams below them, and you expect some of these guys to get better. Like, expect Denver to pick it up a little bit. Maybe you expect the Warriors to get back to what they were, maybe the Clippers too. But, I mean, other than that, I'm not sure which teams I'm expecting to really take a valid jump. Now, maybe Memphis when Ja's back healthy, Jaren's supposed to be back soon. Maybe they can take that step, or Jaren is back. But other than that, it's like none of those teams, if I'm the Jazz, I would really have any fear of like really trying to overcome the start that they've had. And I think they can keep it up because they're playing with that confidence and they're in a position too where it's like we have nothing to lose. And I think the players know that too. It's like if we make the playoffs, we're a great story. If we start losing, then we'll probably just be shipped to our next team and we'll be playing playoff basketball somewhere else. So they're in a great position as well. So I don't see any reason why like this won't keep up. Now a 1 seed I still think might be. I don't know if I believe that, but they are well on their way to being a solidified playoff team, a top 6 seed, I think for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's certainly a world where they can avoid the play-in tournament. I don't think that's out of the question at all.
As long as no big injuries happen, which we've seen can happen, but they're such a deep team. I think as long as like their top guys stay healthy, like as long as Laurie stays healthy, Vando stays healthy, I think they'll be fine. I really do.
Here's the thing with the West, though. Like, we look at the East, and we thought the East, like, 1 through 8 was kind of, like, super hard to predict overall. But, like, the East, if you look at the top, like, the play-in, already a 4.5 game difference from the 1 seed. The Jazz are a game and a half away from being a play-in team. Like, if they lose 2 in a row and some other teams win 2 in a row, suddenly they're in the play-in. So that's really how close it is still. It's like even at the 1 seed, nobody has really separated themselves from the pack at all.
And that's an accurate description of how I feel about pretty much every team in the West right now, because no one that I've watched in the West this year has been like, wow, this team is really good. Like, there's been a lot of good teams, and sure, it is early season, but there's been a lot of nights where I've watched a lot of teams in the West, and it's like, okay, that's a problem, and that's a problem, and that's a problem. That's not to say that they're bad teams, because they're certainly not, but it's like, okay, the Mavericks have had issues. Luka has struggled down the stretch of games because he's tired. They lack secondary options. The Pelicans have looked sloppy at times and haven't been able to close out games. Of course, they've had guys in and out of the lineup as well. That's been a problem. Of course, Memphis have struggled with injuries. Denver have had guys in and out of the lineup. The Clippers haven't had Kawhi healthy that much. Golden State haven't looked that great to start. Like, there's just a lot of variables right now for a lot of Western Conference teams. So a team that can stay healthy and can get off to a good start, it's hard to not give them an edge in being able to continue that, just given the fact that no one has looked that great yet. Now, that could also be an argument to say, could the Pelicans or the Warriors just go out and win 8 games in a row starting tomorrow? Sure, that's also possible. And some teams will probably get a bit hotter eventually. But for the time being, I think it's pretty hard to say that any team in the West has looked any better than the Jazz have to start the year.
And it's so weird because I think, now I might be wrong, but I feel like around this time last year, like this is when the Suns were starting to hit their stride. And we knew the Warriors were really good out West. And Memphis was kind of, hanging around. They were playing some solid basketball. They started to pick it up around December, January. That's when they really hit their stride. You would feel like it would maybe be the same this year, but it's not. Like you said, when you brought up every single team, there's questions about every single team, except maybe the Jazz. And I think the question about the Jazz is, can they keep this up? Like, that's really the only question we have. And maybe some defensive things too when it comes to playoff basketball. But other than that, like you mentioned, like Denver, they haven't looked great when I watched them. Even when Jokic, was in the lineup, they didn't look great to me. The Warriors obviously have their issues. The Clippers, Kawhi is not even, ramped up yet. So that's a big question mark. Memphis has had health issues. Like, so many teams have so many questions. And it's like the teams that have been playing good are like teams that we don't really believe in to be championship contenders. Like, Portland's look, I think, really good. But I think that's based on our expectations of them. It's like, we don't think they're a championship team. Same thing with Utah. We don't think they're a championship team. So it's like the West is probably as wild as it's been because there's no clear-cut team right now that we're looking at like, that's the best team, or at least we think that's a championship team. Like, there's not one team out West that we could say that about.
Yeah, I was about to say, you talking on like no team really looks like a championship team. Yet to me, it looks like the championship is going to the Eastern Conference. Because those top 2 in the East to me look like just a step above everybody else. Thinking like the Celtics obviously probably ain't lost a game since our last episode. And Milwaukee, they're hanging right in without Chris. So like those two to me, like the fact that they've been able to separate themselves a little bit more than anyone anywhere else, like I see two contenders this early and neither of them are in the West. However, on that point, last 10 games, who's been good recently? The Kings have obviously been 8-2, and we touched on that already. The Clippers are really saving me on this agenda pushing because 7-3 over their last 10. Listen, Kawhi is back. He's in the lineup. But him and Paul George, neither of them are really putting up real big stats. They're really relying on that depth that I was talking about before the season, just playing an all-around game, finding different ways to get the job done. They travel better than most teams do because they don't have that much of a home court advantage anyways. In a year where, really looking at it, a lot of teams are traveling really terribly. Like if the Warriors could just play as good as they play in the Bay, they'd be the 1 seed. They're 7-1 at home. They just have a losing record because they travel awful. It's like the things the Clippers are doing, only a game and a half out of the 1 seed, even being at 7, it's like the closeness is saving these agendas.
The closeted Clipper fan speaks on LA. I think this is where like the Clippers are always best, in my opinion. At least this version of the Clippers as like that team. They're kind of under the radar. Like they're playing good basketball, but it's like nobody's really talking about them because Boston's playing so well. The Warriors have been kind of bad for their standards, so everybody's focusing on that. And they play in the same city as the Lakers, so it's like everybody's going to be talking about the Lakers before it's the Clippers. So them being 7-3 in their last 10 is like perfect territory for them. Like nobody's really thinking about the Clippers until Kawhi ramps it up, which hopefully happens sooner than later. And Paul George, he's going to get better. We know that's a fact. He's going to get better. But like you mentioned before the season, Gabe, and as you just brought up, that's what they have this depth for, is for moments like this. So Ty Lue's going to have them boys playing good basketball no matter who's in the lineup. So Clippers, definitely a team, like they're kind of the wild card right now. It's just about them getting their guys on the court, essentially. Zubac has been really good, though, this season.
Definitely. 100% the wild card is the way to describe them. Ultimately, they just need to continue to stay in the mix, have that depth help them, have their good defense carry them. As long as they can be healthy and be ready to go those last 20, 25 games of the season, that's what's really going to matter for this Clippers team, because as long as Paul George can stay healthy and they can continue to have their depth being productive, which shouldn't really be too out of the question considering how much depth they have, they'll be fine. They might not be a top 2 seed, but as long as they can punch their ticket in and Kawhi is ready to go, that's the most important thing for this group. And that's just what everything relies on, is the wild card of Kawhi. And if Kawhi's ready to go, well, then they can probably beat anyone. But we just need to see that happen, because as far as it remains still almost 20 games into the season, we just don't know.
Definitely. And they don't, like Gabe said, they travel so well. Like, I'm not worried about that because we've seen them in a playoff series against the Mavs a couple years ago, even though like that's when fans were just starting to get back into the buildings. They won 3 road games in that series when they needed to. So, and they won like big games against the Jazz on the road. Like, I'm not really worried about them if they're, a 5 seed, a 6 seed. I'm not worried about that. It's just like you said, Devin, they just got to get to the playoffs healthy, playing their best basketball at that point. And then at that point, they could probably beat anybody in the Western Conference.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, like you say, like they're going to be fine on the road. Like pretty much this entire team has a ton of playoff experience, so they're good. Even as far as complimentary guys, I mean, John Wall's been there, Norm Powell has a ton of experience, and some of their guys just from their own group that they've brought up have experience, between Terrence Mann and Amir Coffey. Like they got experience, they got the vets. They're going to be fine regardless of what situations they're put in.
Speaking of Dallas, I think they're a team that kind of concerns me a little bit. I think looking at these games, like, I don't know, man. The Luka carry job is one thing, but it's like this team has traveled terribly. Like the last time they were on the road, lost to the Magic, lost to the Wizards. Like those are wins that you need in a tight conference. At-home loss to the Rockets. Just dropped one to Denver, just barely. It's like
Without Jokic.
Without Jokic and without Jamal Murray. I was
without
with DeAndre
Jokic.
Jordan playing 34 minutes, and I wanted to rip my eyes out watching him in the fourth quarter, but here we are.
God.
It's like the Luka carry job might get them to a certain amount of wins, but looking at where they are now, sitting at 9, with the Timberwolves starting to ramp it up a little bit, with the Warriors maybe showing some signs of life, I don't like it.
I mean, here's the thing, right? They're tied for the 8 seed at 9-7. And as much as things haven't looked great, I also can't say I expected any better for this team. Christian Wood's been better than I even expected early on, which has helped. I don't know if that's going to continue the entire season. Expect regular 22, 25-point performances from him? Probably not. We saw him cool down the other night. He had like a 4 or 6 point performance. That obviously didn't help, and they need him to be going because they lack options without him. Even if that slows down, I think they'll be okay because Reggie Bullock's really struggled from 3 to start the year. Finney Smith hasn't really got involved in the offense that much yet either. Their center play is the most concerning thing because JaVale McGee has almost become the third big on this team, which is a little bit worrisome. They need him to start playing a little bit better. But Josh Green has been a really nice addition to a big part of the rotation as a guy who kind of got played out of the playoffs last year because of his lack of three-point shooting, has now become a really good three-point shooter to start this year. So if they can get more of that from Reggie Bullock, they can get more of that from Finney Smith, which hopefully they can get more of. We've seen in the past that they can shoot at a higher clip than they are right now. Then I think that they'll be fine. But ultimately, as far as this team is currently constructed, that's all they're going to be, is just a fine team. Luka's only going to be able to do so much, and I think there's very few players, if anyone, in the league right now that is the NBA is currently constructed that can do great things with your second best players being Christian Wood and Spencer Dinwiddie. It's just not going to work.
It's so tough. Like you said, I do expect like Bullock and Dorian Finney-Smith to start shooting better, just because it's very uncharacteristic of them right now to be shooting this bad. But Reggie Bullock kind of starts the season off poor every year, so I'm sure they'll pick it up. But even then, look at this team. I think last season was like one of the more well-constructed teams around Luka, just because you had Brunson who could take the pressure off of him, and Dinwiddie was the third guard that can take the pressure off of those who have needed. Now it's like you're relying on Dinwiddie a little too much, and then you can load up on Luka. And like you mentioned earlier, Devin, it might have been before we was recording, but Luka's so tired down the stretch of these games because he has to do so much just to put them in a position to win and close the games. That's nearly impossible. Like even LeBron James wasn't able to do that for years because it's like kind of need a closer if you're doing so much throughout the game. So, and you look at like his counterpart, like Trae Young, they went out and got him another all-star guard because they're like, Trae Young's doing too much. We need somebody that can take the pressure off of him. And when they've been on the court, they've been playing some pretty solid basketball. You would hope Dallas could probably do that someday. We've been talking about this for years, though, so it's probably not going to happen anytime soon. They're just in a bad spot. They'll probably improve as the season goes on. They started off last season kind of poor, too, but that was with Luka missing a lot of time. Luka's been out there. He's been playing out of his mind, but other guys got to step it up, man. Other guys got to step it up because Luka's doing everything he can. Christian Wood's got to be better. We saw the flashes early on. He has to be better. Same thing with Dinwiddie. Same thing with Bullock, Dorian Finney-Smith, JaVale McGee. Those guys have to be better.
Yeah, I think it is going to take the addition of another all-star to, I think, push this team back to like that conference finals thing. I think the comparison really gets funny because I see a lot of comparisons to like James Harden with the Rockets. And it's like, yeah, James Harden with the Rockets kind of early, like reached the conference finals and then kind of stagnated a little bit. And then it wasn't until he got his Chris Paul. And even then, I feel like if you saw another all-star pair with Luka, they'd be like, can Luka play with that super ball dominant style with another all-star? But it's like,
I think he can.
I think he can. I think it'll be the same situation. It's like I think he's the James Harden that needs his Chris Paul, man. I think he needs that other, like another just super impact player next to him. I guess him with some role players like is limited because these role players are not showing out as much as maybe they need to be for this team to be super successful.
I mean, like as far as you talk about Luka being able to fit with another ball dominant guy, it either goes one of two ways, and it's pretty much the same way it goes for every time we ask the question about a ball dominant guard. Is do they want to win or do they want the ball all the time? Because it pretty much only works one of two ways. We've had it with LeBron when he started to play with D Wade, and same thing with Kyrie. You get it now with Trey and DeJounte, and they're looking a lot better this year than they were last year. It would be the same thing with Luka when he got another ball dominant guard or wing to play with. He's an all-star caliber guy. Luka can continue to do what he wants as an individual, but it's only going to take that team so far. If he wants to win, then if he got an all-star caliber guy, which hopefully at some point in time in his career he does, whether that's in Dallas or otherwise, that's just the reality of any situation that an all-star caliber guy has to have, regardless of how ball dominant they are. You just can only have so much success by yourself. Eventually, you don't have to give up all the control, obviously. I mean, Luke is always going to be a ball dominant guy wherever he goes, but learning how to play with another all-star caliber player is a very important skill in this league to have success.
Yeah, and like there might have been like a rift between James Harden and Chris Paul. Like at least that's what the media wanted us to think, but that was the first time we saw James Harden really defer to somebody. Like Chris Paul was taking over games down the stretch, and James Harden was having no problem with it because they were winning. And I think that was like the shift in James Harden's career at that point. And I just kind of thought about like Damian Lillard this year, like how he's so willing to let other guys get the last shots. Like he's not only like he's played with CJ a lot, like for a lot of years in their career, but he basically added two guys that have been 20 that can be 20 point per game scorers in the league with Anthony Simons now getting that role, and Jeremy Grant. And they're winning games, so you don't hear Dame complaining. You don't see him complaining. He's just happy to win. Like that's, I think, like Devin said, like if Luka wants to win, he's gonna have to accept that at some point. And I think we saw the flashes with Jalen Brunson at points last season. Like he was comfortable, sitting in the corner if he had to, and let Jalen Brunson work if he was having that kind of a night. They might have dropped the ball and letting Brunson go because that's probably the most low maintenance second option that you can have who can still do his thing. Because now you're gonna have to go chase a guy and probably overpay a guy. Like I can't even think of a name right now, but like Bradley Beal comes to mind, like somebody like that. You might have to go get a guy like that, trade a lot of pieces, and pay a guy a lot of money just to be that second option to Luka, which is not the conventional way, man. They might have really messed things up by not bringing back Jalen Brunson.
Yeah, and it's definitely not going to be Bradley Beal. He is not going nowhere.
That was just the first name that came to mind.
He was in trade talks for so long, but like that man, he is like tied to Washington for life, I think. That man will be 80 years old still in DC.
It's funny because I saw a tweet earlier and it was like the Heat are trying to shop Duncan Robinson. I'm like, they say this every like 2 weeks. Like I see the same tweet from NBA Central every 2 weeks. Same thing with John Collins. I'm like, they've been saying this for like 5 years. John Collins is still there. They extended him. Like this. Some of these guys are just always in trade talks, but they're probably not going to get traded like anytime soon.
It's the same thing with Jaylen Brown forever. It was like, they're going to split up the Jays. They can't win together. They just went to the finals.
Yeah. Everyone's trying to make the new Miles Turner, but Miles Turner's undefeated. That's his role.
Miles Turner is really undefeated in trade talks, bro.
The only guy that's probably close is either John Collins or OG's always getting thrown in trade talks. By BR.
Always. Jake Fisher OG. Every summer. Always OG every time. Without fail.
Every time. OG's been hooping this year, though, man. Shout out to OG. I heard Gary Trent shooting like 31% from three, and that kind of hurt my heart, man.
Yeah, I don't know. Gary's been doing what Gary does. Some nights he looks great, and then other nights he struggles to find the bucket. But it's been a weird year for him because it's just been a lot of role changing all season in Toronto between Siakam being out and Freddie missing time, and OG stepped up well to that role, but Gary decided to take on more of a role as well, and it just hasn't happened yet. I would imagine eventually he'll bounce back. He's going to be highly motivated to do so as well, given it's likely a contract year for him, assuming he opts out. But I'm not too worried about him yet. He's a shooter. He's a shooter at the end of the day. He's shooting the same from the field. He's looked a little bit better from mid-range this year, which is nice to see. But at the end of the day, he's known how to shoot a three-pointer for years. I'm sure that'll come around eventually. Malachi Flynn and Donald Benton having nice games over the last week as well, which is nice to see.
Benton has been playing well. He's been playing. I saw people pushing that narrative in the offseason. I'm like, I kind of fell into the trap with Malachi Finn last year, so I'm like, I'm not gonna buy into it. But Ben's been looking good, man. He fits that style because he's a big basketball player. Like he's a big guard, but he can probably play multiple positions, and that's what Nick Nurse wants right now. Just guys that he can throw anywhere and just be like, go hoop, go play basketball, go be disruptive defensively, get out on the break, run the transition. That's all Nick Nurse wants.
Yeah, 100%. Especially without Siakam right now, we just need guys that can get us in the fast break because that half-court offense is not looking pretty. So let us run as much as
Raptors need Siakam too. The Raptors really need Siakam back. I think at the time of recording their last game against Atlanta, like if they have Pascal in as a closer, maybe that game ends differently. Good chance it does. It's like, man, you see all these pieces, like the Raptors have so many contributing pieces, but like Pascal is clearly, I think, a level above anybody else on the roster. And so just like they're missing him to an extent, definitely falling off a little bit from the start of the season, I think. But at the end of the day, they won their Super Bowl. I think the Celtics beat the allegations too.
They
beat them twice. Beat them twice, man.
Finally, the Raptors, they went into Detroit and they came out
honestly
unscathed.
Detroit might be my biggest disappointment so far this season because I'm fine with them losing games, but at least have some dignity while you're doing it, man. They just look pathetic, bro. Like I was expecting this team to at least fight, but they've just been getting blown out, it seems, night after night. And it's like they're becoming a scheduled win. Like, that's how it seems. And it's just so disappointing, man. I know K's missed time, but still, man, they made moves in the offseason that made me think, like, okay, they're probably trying to at least be competent. And they currently have 3 wins. And I think 3-15 is their record, which is just terrible. Like, oh, my goodness, it's so bad. So I'm just very, very – it hurts my heart to see them playing so bad, man, because I had not high hopes, but I at least wanted them to be – a competitive team if they were going to be bad, but they're not that right now.
Yeah, I mean, an 0-10 away record is tough. I mean, this is a young team, and obviously they're going to struggle on the road. They're going to have bumps. They were missing a few key bench guys early on in the year, which obviously didn't help. But like you say, you would have hoped for a little bit better from them this year. This didn't necessarily have to be the year they make a leap into being the play-in tournament. Obviously, we had them kind of on the fringe this year for the most part. I think Gabe had them in as a 10 seed, but like you say, it's not been great. At least they've had some individual flashes from guys. I mean, Cade's had a few good games. Hopefully he's not out too long-term here now with his injury. Jaden Ivey has looked good. But ultimately, as a unit, they just haven't been great. And the departure of Jeremy Grant obviously isn't helping with that, but this looks like one of the few teams to start the year that just looks like a clear candidate that just looks primed to be in the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes. And as much as that's a good thing, it would have been nice to see a little bit of a better product on the court, no doubt.
Yeah, like nothing's wrong with wanting to get that top pick, but just look a little better while you're doing it, I guess. Like, they don't look promising at all right now, which is kind of sad. Like you said, like guys have been playing good individually, but as a unit, not good, which is kind of surprising because this is the Dwayne Casey-led team, which you would expect them to be better, but they haven't been.
Yeah, this team, like, they made the Bojan trade, and my biggest takeaway was like, okay, they're really going to try to make that play and push. So obviously I bought in, and now what you're seeing is a team that, while probably due to some injuries around the roster, a team that's currently led in scoring by Bojan, that's 3-15. And at that point, it's like, if you're going to be bad at the bottom in the victory sweepstakes, you don't want the veteran player being like the guy that's getting the most buckets on the roster. Like, if you're going to lose, at least have it be the young guys that are out there just learning and growing and getting as much touches and as many minutes as possible. So it's like, for as high as we were on Detroit's rebuild and all the moves they had made, and I still think overall that should be like a really solid move, and he's producing for them. Now it's like, with that on the court and then how bad the team has been at the same time, it just doesn't really click.
Yeah, the Bojan addition looks like a win now move, and it might just become a trade where they end up flipping him for a better pick in typical Detroit fashion. The one thing I will say concerning from an individual standpoint, and hopefully he'll bounce back. I mean, it is only year 3, but Sadiq Bey hasn't looked impressive at all to start the year. Which again, we're only a bit into the season; it's only year 3, but that's the most worrisome thing to me with this group. Otherwise, individually, I've liked a lot of what I've seen from this group, specifically on the offensive end. Obviously, defensively, it's been a little bit more of a train wreck. I think only the Spurs have been worse than them in defensive rating, but uh, I've liked what I've seen from majority of their young players, even though I know we were a little bit low and starting to give up on Killian Hayes in the last episode. He's actually put together like 6 or 7 quality games since then. So he's starting to show a little bit more signs of life, of hopefully continuing to show he can be at least a rotational bench guard moving forward. So they got pieces. I still trust in what they're doing in a rebuild, but defensively they're not there yet as a unit. And obviously the addition of Bojan was great offensively, but wasn't going to help on that end. You lost Jeremy Grant as well. You got 2 young bigs that are going to need time to continue to develop on the defensive end as well. So I still like where they're at, but it definitely doesn't look like this year's their year to show legitimacy in the East.
I think the good thing is it's early in the season. You know, they're 18 games in. You know, we've seen cases where teams can flip it around. I just want to see them just get back to playing good basketball, because I felt like I saw flashes last season. Haven't seen it as much this year. So hopefully they can just get back to that. They're the worst team in the Eastern Conference. That's fine. That means you're going to get a top pick. Just look a little more quality while you're doing it, you know, if that's possible. But, you know, Cade get healthy, man, because I miss watching Cade Cunningham play basketball.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think, like, as far as the bottom of the East goes, like, I expected, like, Orlando, Charlotte to be down there. So just Detroit being down there with them, like, not exactly what I expected. But, yeah, like you said, adding another top prospect, getting a top pick, like, I really don't think they can lose at this point. Like, losing for the future of the franchise, now you have Cade and Jaden Ivey, who both are looking pretty solid, still looking like that's your backcourt of the future. Like, clearly, I think adding like a star forward or maybe a star big next offseason, like, that's really, now you just cemented yourself as like, oh, now you might have a big 3 going forward.
Yeah.
Their timeline is still pretty young. Like, everybody outside of the offseason additions and Bojan, Alec Burks, everybody else is young. So they're not in a bad position at all. It's just, we just kind of expected a little more from them. I think collectively we all expected them to at least look a little better than what they are now.
Yeah, definitely. They really would have benefited from Miles Bridges being a decent human being, but unfortunately that was not the case. So here we are.
He's a Laker.
No Lakers talk. I mean, actually, the Lakers are on a low win streak.
I was gonna say Lakers won 3 in a row with no LeBron
against the Pistons, Nets, and Spurs. Or Lakers,
that is our Lakers talk for the episode.
Yeah,
3-game win streak. LeBron getting healthy. Actually, Anthony Davis has been playing good basketball.
I was gonna say,
I think
for as hard as we are on Anthony Davis, I think we have to highlight the fact that he's been pretty dang good, and it has translated to some winning. And I keep seeing, bro, Ballsack Sports is gonna hit a dubious lick on somebody because he keeps posting after every Lakers win. It's like the Lakers are 0-10 when LeBron plays and 5-0 when he's out. Should the Lakers trade LeBron? And I'm like, somebody's gonna get a lick hit on them. Like,
somebody's definitely believing that for sure. For sure. People, that's why, like, the whole Twitter thing with like being able to pay for a verified check, so bad, man. Because
so bad.
People believe anything. Like, if you have a graphic and a logo, you just post that. Doesn't matter what your name is. Yeah. People would believe that. Somebody's gonna believe it. And then you add a blue check on this, like, man, people are going to be getting bamboozled like really bad. So
yeah, we are in a day and age where people do the least amount of fact checking possible, in a day and age where it is the easiest to just put something together and make it look believable. And it is a terrible combination. And now it's just the world of Twitter now that's just all it is. It's great.
Not only that, fact checking is as easy as it's ever been to do so. Like you don't have to wait for Sports Center to come on to see if the news is gonna pop up. You can literally just look it up. Just look it up. Like that's all. Like 3 seconds. Look it up.
Literally.
Come on, man.
So now that
no encyclopedias to dig into.
Now that the Lakers
don't have to go to the library to get a book to check it out to see if you can find it. Like no newspapers. Like just look it up. Sorry, Gabe. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, so now that the Lakers are undefeated without LeBron, what's the top 5 trade destinations for LeBron James?
He's
personally, I think he's a Celtic.
I was gonna say Shanghai, but
Shanghai. He's about to go play with Dwight in Taiwan. That man Dwight looks like
that's PG Dwight right there. PG1.
Dwight looks crazy over there in Taiwan.
Listen, you guys saw Jimmer Fredette in China dropping like 70 bombs. Stephon Marbury's like literally Steph Curry over in China.
Have you seen Taco fall? Like Taco looks crazy in China.
Like, what did you expect from an NBA Hall of Famer in Taiwan?
I didn't expect him.
What did you expect?
Shooting pull up mid-range.
Come on, bro. Here's the thing: is that like, if DeAndre Jordan got onto like a regular, even like Division I NCAA court, or like a lot of leagues around the world's courts, that man could probably dribble, get by somebody, break somebody down with his handle, and score like a pull-up mid-range.
DJ might be too far. I've seen Dwight do that in the NBA game though. DJ might be too far.
Yeah,
I think the thing is that you're trying like doing that against NBA level defenders is really a different level of challenge is the point I'm trying to make. Like there's players that look like something isn't in their skill set, but then like most like high level basketball players like that are well rounded to an extent. They're just not going to do things in an NBA game because they're not doing it at that NBA level. But are they doing it at like even a D1 college level? Absolutely. That's why they're a professional player.
Sure.
Yeah. It's like all NBA guys, at least like 90, we'll say 97%. Because there's probably some guys that are just like what they are. Like, I can't see DeAndre Jordan going over to China and step back there and over people. I can't see that. But like most NBA players have basic basketball skills to where if they're playing against us, they will probably look like Kyrie Irving in a 6'10" frame like Dwight Howard's looking like. Like that's probably how it would look like. Because they all have basic skills and that they're professionals for a reason. It's just when you get to the league, you kind of have to buy into a role. Because like guys like Patrick Beverley was averaging like 38 points in high school, but obviously in the NBA, he has his role. He's a scrappy defensive guy because that's how he keeps getting contracts. Basically, like you got to kind of buy into a role unless you are just that guy. Like there's a select few guys that are like superstars, all-star guys. If not, you kind of got to buy into a role and just be a star in that role.
Definitely, and that's why you see guys that are those types of scorers like a Jimmer Fredette, where you're a really good scorer, but if you can't offer much outside of being a scorer, if you're not one of the best scorers, there's just no role for you, and that's why it's really tough to make it in the league. It's just a scorer, specifically as that small point guard, because you're not going to be a great defender, and your role is going to be limited. So, like you say, everyone's got to buy into a role, and that's why you see a lot of guys where, whether it's a 3-and-D wing or a defensive wing or a big who just goes out there and rebounds and defends off the bench, those types of guys obviously weren't just doing that when they were playing in college as top-end guys, but that's just the reality of the situation in the NBA and buying into a team role.
It just reminds me of like the off-season workout videos of like Ben Simmons and Andre Drummond, that every off-season you see them taking pull-up jumpers, see them just like running in transition, pull up from the mid-range on a like. If they went to like Taiwan or China or something, if Ben Simmons actually signed with Shanghai, and on that note, I will get back to Ben Simmons because that's a necessity if you follow me on Twitter. if they go to they're like they can do that. Like the videos aren't fake. The videos just aren't against NBA defenders.
It's still professional basketball though, which is cool, and they're still getting paid to do it. But I think I like guys going overseas. Like if you're not making it in the NBA, or maybe you're a vet like the White and there's no jobs available. I like it, man. Like just go overseas, put together a nice mixtape, get paid to do it, be in a foreign country if you want to see the world a little bit, and then maybe get another NBA chance, maybe not, but just go ahead and show your bag a little bit against still professional basketball players. I like to see it, man. I've been having a joy watching Dwight Howard videos every time they pop up on Twitter because it looks like
he doesn't.
It looks like prime Dwight Howard with a jump shot, which is crazy.
He doesn't need money or anything. So it's like I'm sure, just from a player's perspective, there's no way you're not happier going out, contributing, and like feeling like the best player on the court. Like that's just got to be fun. And when you've had a whole career, Dwight now like Hall of Fame career, led a team to the NBA Finals and lost to a top 10 player of all time in Kobe. Like I'm that's nothing to scoff at, bro. Like that's a pretty big accomplishment by itself. Then turn around, eventually got his ring in the second stint with the Lakers. Like a guy that was in MVP talks has made All-NBA first team. Bro, at this point, he's like, what, 36, 35? Like, just go have fun. You're a legend. Everybody knows you're a legend. And I'm sure he's having more fun doing that. And I'm sure there's a lot of players who probably would have more fun doing that. But I got to transition here. I gotta say it. Ben Simmons might be back.
He's been playing solid lately. He has.
He might be 20 bomb. Ben Simmons dropped a dub. This is like unheard of stuff. Ben Simmons.
Did you watch the game? Did you watch the game? Because I didn't see the game
last night.
I didn't watch the game.
I'll say this: as long as they're going to continue to not get completely exposed by it defensively, they need to continue to run Ben at the 5. That's the best their offense has looked all year. Now, given Kyrie was back as well, so that's obviously playing into things, but they actually had spacing. Simmons was actually able to leverage his playmaking because there wasn't just 5 guys sitting in the paint, and they didn't look terrible defensively. Steven Adams dominated the boards at times, but it wasn't to an egregious degree. I mean, Steven Adams dominates the boards at the best of times, so it didn't look like anything that was insurmountable. Now, obviously, we need a bit more of a sample size, but I think the combination of Simmons did look a lot more engaged last night. He has for a couple of games now. Hopefully that continues. But I think Simmons just gets to leverage what he is so good at as far as his playmaking ability goes on the offensive end when they don't have Claxton out there. And I think just having those 2 guys on the floor at the same time is really tough. Having Joe Harris out there instead just gives him so much more spacing, gives him more 3-point shooting, and just lets Ben Simmons work way better and way more effectively.
Yeah, I think this team at this point, like, Jacques Vaughn is going to improve their defense schematically to an extent. I think he has. Definitely better than Steve Nash. I mean, you can't really go down from that at all. But then it's like you might as well just play to the team's strengths. Like, I think this team, like, they just got to win against the Grizzlies, but it was the Grizzlies without anybody. This team is probably not going to be D'ing up anybody too legitimately ever. So, like, at this point, you just got to play to your strengths. And this team at this point has some shooters. Like, if you play Ben Simmons at the 5 and you keep playing him there, hey, you got KD, you got Kyrie's back, Joe Harris, Seth Curry, and none of the guys I just mentioned are the NBA's leading, like, 3-point percentage player.
Yuta Watanabe. One of the best names in NBA basketball, but he's been hooping.
I just gave you a great shooting lineup that doesn't have the league leader in 3-point percentage. Who's on this roster? This team has shooters. They have, like, their percentages for the season probably don't reflect it because I think a lot of guys got out to not the best starts in the world. And obviously, Kyrie missed time for reasons that we'll not probably dive into on this podcast. But just overall, like the lineups that they can run, they're not going to be great defensively. But if they just play to their strengths as much as possible, I think it can put them in a much better spot. And they're already almost back to 500, you know? Like, at this point in the season, for as terrible as we think they started, 6-4 in their last 10, only a game below 500 right now. Everybody's back, and you assume is going to be here for a while because the off-the-court stuff is mostly dealt with. Ben's looking better. You know, KD's playing consistently. You have Yuta Watanabe shooting the lights out. You know, as poor as some guys started from the three-point arc, he can really only get better from there. Steve Nash has been dealt with. Like, he's out the door. So now you have Jacques Vaughn, who proved in the past before Steve Nash got there. Like, when Jacques Vaughn was interim coach of this team, I think he was just interim. Like, he was for real solid. Like, I think when the Steve Nash hire happened, they were like, why didn't they just hire Jacques Vaughn? So from that perspective, like, this team is looking like they can recover pretty well. Only 5.5 games out of a 1 seed, only 2 games away from not even being in the play-in tournament. Like, while they started off really poorly, they put themselves in a position where if they just commit fully to offense and play to their strengths as much as they can, they're still very much in the mix.
What's in the mix to you?
Like I said, they're 2 games. They're 2 games out of being above the play-in tournament.
Okay. So what's in the mix? Like, playoff team, contender?
I think they can get – say this team found their way to a 5 or 6 seed. I think KD and Kyrie could steal a series or 2.
I don't think they do.
I'll take that back. I think they can steal a series. If they can get out of the play-in tournament, because if they're in the play-in tournament and they're 7 or 8, I think the Celtics or Bucks are taking that 100 times out of 100. I think those teams are just too good. For Brooklyn just has too many holes to take out them. But almost anybody else, and that includes Cleveland, because the Cleveland core hasn't made the playoffs together. So I think there's a world. I still probably take Cleveland, but I think there is a world where the Nets could steal it. I just don't know if they can get past that top 2. And it's like, honestly, if this Brooklyn team was in the West, like we said, we have questions about like everybody in the West. It's almost like if they were on the other side of the bracket, which is so crazy to say because it's the West. If this team was on the other side of the bracket, I'd be like, maybe they could go on a run because everybody has questions. And then, like, the last time I saw KD in like a deep playoff series, like, he looked like damn near the best player in the world. If his feet were a little bit shorter, like, he would have taken down like a championship team. It's like, you know, like, it's just the Bucks and the Celtics look so strong right now. I don't think that they can pass either one of them. Now, if the Bucks somehow fell enough to where, like, the Bucks are now, like, the 4 seed or something, and, like, by virtue of the bracket, they can duck both of them and get to a conference finals, maybe there's a world. Am I going to put, like, money on that? No, absolutely not. But is there a world? I think they've put themselves in about the best situation after a nightmarish start. The fact that – let me check right now. I want to see who their next games are up against. Okay. So they play the Sixers, who are kind of up and down, the Raptors, who are missing Pascal, Pacers, Trailblazers, Magic. So in that next 5 games, if they beat like one of the better teams in there, I think they can come away from that like 3-2 within your 500. Then all of a sudden it's just like you're 0-0, and it's like go out, win games, better coach that we know has been really solid in the past. Ben Simmons is finally ramping up, and suddenly – you can be decent. So I guess not in the mix as like with the Celtics and the Bucks, but you can put damn near as much faith in them as anybody else if they can prove it to you. Everybody else has questions.
Yeah, the only thing I'm still worried about this Brooklyn group, and of course you mentioned it, is the fact that they're just not going to be great defensively. And they'll be fine through the regular season. Like, they'll be able to get into the playoffs as long as they can continue to have a good offense. And Simmons continues to look as good as he has through the last few games. And KD and Kyrie can stay healthy and on the floor. And they'll be fine. but they're probably not beating the Bucks, probably not beating the Celtics, and as poorly as their defense has been playing lately, I don't know if they're even upsetting any other teams that would be a 3 seed or a 4 seed. They'll have a chance because it's KD and it's Kyrie, but ultimately their defense is just going to be what holds them back. And as much as obviously we weren't that high on them to start this season, this is still a team led by KD and Kyrie, and they are still going to garner some expectations because of that. But this defense just isn't there. They added pieces. Royce O'Neal was a good addition. Ben Simmons was a good addition, but I just don't think it's enough.
Yeah, just missing a little too much, which is what we expected. Like if they're a 5-6 seed, that's probably around where I kind of thought they would be. I forget what seed I had them at, but probably around that area. So it's like it's good to see them playing better. It's good to see they got Steve Nash out the door or got rid of the problem with Steve Nash, as Gabe would say. It's good to see that like that's handled. But like the absolute best case scenario in my book is what Gabe said. Like maybe they get a 5-6 seed and they're able to avoid Milwaukee or Boston, and they can maybe win a series. Like that's the best case scenario that I can see the team ending up being. But that's probably what we expected coming into the season. Like we didn't think that they were a legit championship team. So it's good to see them playing better. I'm glad Ben Simmons is having a stretch of games where he kind of looks like Ben Simmons, which is great to see. And they've been playing good. Like they've been sharing the basketball more lately. Other than KD making those comments to the media, which was so unwarranted and just bad teammate stuff. Other than that, it's been kind of cool for Brooklyn lately. So it's good to see, man. But yeah, what do you guys think about those KD comments? Because it's like in my book, he had a point. Like I get what he's saying, but you can't say that to the media. No
you can't be saying that. There's no
that
way.
Shit worked.
I mean, did it though? They're winning games, but like if I'm Edmund Sumner showing up to practice the next day, there's no way I'm looking at my star teammate KD. I'm like, yeah, I'm cool with this. Like
that's
there's no way, man.
That's something you say to your best friend or to your wife or something like that. You don't say that to the media. Like you either keep it to yourself or say it to somebody that's like close family. Like you cannot say that stuff to the media, man. I'm sorry.
Hey man, yeah.
Could you imagine, Gabe? Could you imagine if like I went on Twitter and I'm like, man, like, you know, podcasting is tough. Like I'm doing a podcast with Devin and Gabe. Like, what do you expect? Like that would be crazy if I went on Twitter and said that. Like that is insane. And then we're gonna hop on the podcast, and it's just gonna be so awkward. Like you can't say that to the media, bro.
I will be honest, yeah. Like,
but then
somehow though,
but like
that shit worked.
But then we're like some rooks who are on our like second or third podcast ever, and Gabe's been doing this for like 15 years, and is just a vet in the industry. And just to amplify that.
Like, come on, bro, I'm trying to learn the ropes here. Give me a chance.
Imagine you said that, and then we come out, and all of a sudden, this episode of the podcast gets like 5,000 views.
That would be great, but at what cost is that worth it? I don't know. There's always going to be that rift. There's always going to be that rift after that. I'm sorry. There's always going to be a rift.
Is there going to be that rift? Because then if we start doing numbers, then it's like, now suddenly, I'm doing the podcast with Devin and Gabe. We up.
Hey, if Gabe makes some type of tweet about us, we know what it's for now.
We're trying to do numbers. We're manufacturing beef for entertainment. for entertainment value, man.
Oh man.
Man's living by the old press is good press.
That's her up, bro. Hey man, it's just weird trying to talk about like talking about Brooklyn with like potential matchups. Like it's just so weird to look at it because I'm saying if Brooklyn got to a 5 seed somehow, bro, the 4 seed right now is Indiana. And if you said Indiana versus Brooklyn in a playoff series,
yeah, playoffs is different. Yeah, it's different.
I'm like, give me Brooklyn now. Hey, Ben Mather just dropped another dub, and the Pacers just got another dub, so they won 5 in a row now, actually. So they're still up. I mean, it was against Orlando, but they're still up.
2 games back of the Celtics now.
But it's
man.
it's like the teams in the Wizards are above the play-in right now. Like
they've been playing good basketball.
if you say the Wizards versus the Nets in a playoff series, I'm taking KD. Give me
Kuz, man. Kuz and Porzingis, man.
You're crazy. You're crazy.
That's the best front court duo in the league right now.
I don't know about all that, man.
Without Bradley Beal, they've been playing great.
Yeah, they have not been winning games because of Bradley Beal. I'll say that much. Those two have been playing really well.
Hey, if that 4 seed ends up being like Philly or Atlanta, if it's Atlanta, I think Atlanta might give Brooklyn the beats. I think DeJounte might put Kyrie in hell. I think KD's just not going to be able to do it himself.
And then, are they going to have Trae Young being chased by Ben Simmons the whole series? And then it's like you kind of have to go big because Clint Capella's been playing good, and then you got a Kongwu coming in. That's a bad matchup for them. That's a terrible matchup.
What happened last time Trae Young went against Ben Simmons in the playoffs? Riddle me that.
They lost. Ben Simmons lost.
Ben Simmons mentally did not recover for over a year.
Yeah. Which is it's so funny. Like Trae Young is just this good because Ben Simmons did a hell of a job on Trae Young, but Trae Young's still gonna get people involved. Like you can't. I think Miami is really the only team that I saw really take Trae Young out of the game completely. And even then, he was still able to have moments where he was playing good. So it's like such and such guy to cover.
That Philly game 7. It's come full circle because that was the Kevin Huerter game.
It was
headband Huerter, bro.
He had Seth Curry in hell. He was posting Seth Curry up, hitting threes. Yeah, he was killing Seth Curry.
He's still killing to this day, bro. That's the catalyst of the beam.
I forget they gave him some nickname. I forgot what it is.
I've heard headband Huerter. He's basically Ginger D Wade.
It's something to do with his hair, like it was ginger something or like red something.
I'm trying to remember.
I forgot. I heard it on
Basketball References mentioning Red Mamba and Red Velvet.
It might be
Red Velvet.
I think
it was Red Velvet. That's what they've been calling him.
I can't call him Red Mamba because I think Matt Bonner was Red Mamba.
Matt Bonner.
Yeah. Legend, Spurs legend, man. Shout out Matt Bonner. Brooklyn. Are you a closeted Nets fan too, or are you just a big Ben Simmons supporter?
Me?
Yeah. Because you just you really just carried the Nets conversation. You was talking about them for 5 minutes straight. Like me and Devin was just sitting here listening. You was talking about them for 5 minutes straight, man.
I appreciate good entertainment. I'm here for the entertainment value. And the Brooklyn Nets, for a lot of reasons, are very good entertainment value. I'll tell you, I spent at least a half hour today on Twitter threads surrounding the events around Kyrie Irving's return. And I know you know what I'm talking about. But that was related to the Brooklyn Nets, and I spent a very, literally a solid portion of my day just reading these Twitter threads because I'm like, this is just so entertaining. Reading the discourse and just being a part. I can't really say being a part of it because it's not like I'm participating actively in the discussion, but I guess just viewing the whole thing unfold is so much entertainment value that you just can't not. Now, obviously some of that stuff does get a little bit more serious, so I can't just chalk it all up to entertainment value, but then just the on-court stuff more so with KD's comments towards his teammates, just watching the whole Ben Simmons arc of can this dude still play basketball, to then that him just coming out and finally dropping a 20-piece and being bit what? Everything surrounding this team, them having literally the most phony coach I've ever seen in my life. And then like the owner of the franchise being like, nah, we're going to stick with him. So then like not even 10 games into the season being like, just kidding. This dude is worse than we ever imagined. Like, you can't tell me this team doesn't make you invested. Like, there's a storyline and it's interesting. It's genuinely an interesting team to follow because there's just so much stuff going on, whether it's on the court or off the court. That it's just like it's genuinely just riveting content. Whether you just like the game of basketball and stuff that you can clearly see just on the court, or whether it's just like in society or in life. The Brooklyn Nets are a story unfolding before our very eyes that you simply cannot miss.
Yeah,
I think that's the perfect word. Can't miss them.
yeah. The Nets have captured the limelight of NBA drama over the last 6 months. There is no doubt about it. I've tuned out
Like over the last 2
90% of it.
years.
I don't want half of it to continue anymore. I could deal with just the on the court stuff. But nonetheless, they are a seed planted by the inner workings of the NBA to keep the off the court drama going. There's no doubt about it.
There's always the drama. Like
They traded Harden, bro.
Yeah, that's when it all kind of happened. And then, well, really, most of that season wasn't filled with drama. It was like once the vaccine stuff started, that's kind of when like, okay, this is where
the drama that season was like, will they ever play together? They were just never on the court together. It's like, oh, we got this big three, and they were pretty good when they were together, and then they never were. And then they have one playoff run together. Kyrie gets hobbled. James Harden gets hobbled, but then he comes back, tries to play on one leg. Then the thing with KD's foot happens. So it's like more of that was on court based, but there was a lot of, for lack of a better term, just like sport drama with that roster and that team that season.
Yeah, one of the biggest what is because they did not lose a lot of games when they all played together, man. And they damn near looked unbeatable in the playoff series when they were healthy. Like, because I think the Celtics played them in that first round. It took a Jason Tatum 50-point game to take one game in that series. Which is like, damn, that's how good they were. And even with a hobbled Harden, Kyrie missing basically the second half of the series, like Gabe said, KD's a half a shoe size smaller from beating the eventual champs. Like, part of me wishes like they could have just got it right with that squad, but stuff happens.
I guess to answer your original question, I can't say I'm a closeted Nets fan, but like they have my attention.
They have your heart. I see.
Yes.
Okay. Shout out to the Nets. That's like 15 minutes of Nets talk. Shout out to Brooklyn. Playing better.
Playing better basketball. Hey, man. Because, hey, I was the biggest hater when the KD Warriors were in their prime. But now it's like, bro, for some reason in 2022, I'm just always rooting for Steph and for KD to do good. I don't know what it is about them, but like I was really riding with the Warriors heavy during the playoffs.
I don't know. The Warriors' downfall is kind of bringing joy to my heart a little bit.
They're bad. Clay had 40. Clay had 40.
Okay.
Clay has had a nice couple of games. I will give him that.
What's crazy is while we're recording, they just sat everybody. It was like I understand because they sat damn near everybody, but they just lost to the Pelicans by like 50. They lost by 45 to the Pelicans tonight. Zion came back, only had 9, but
he only had to play 23 minutes. They're chilling.
Mm-hmm. Sick for the Dubs.
Their whole approach to this season since day one has been, let's just get to the playoffs healthy. I mean, day one, they're coming out and saying, none of the starters are playing over 30 tonight. And I mean, that's like the second, if not the third game this year where they've done pretty much a wholesale rest of all their guys. So, I mean, they recognize that they're coming off a title. I mean, this group and Steve Kerr aren't new to balancing the workload and managing the rest of guys, especially now as they get older after going all the way to winning a title last year. So they know they're being smart about it and trying to make sure no one gets hurt. Now, given their poor start, they don't still need to make sure they're actually good enough to make the playoffs, because a team, even though they are this good and they do have Steph Curry, you don't want to run the risk of being in a play-in tournament again and potentially not making the playoffs, because anything can happen over the course of a game or two. But as long as they're in the playoffs, then they're just ramping up for the playoffs at the end of the day.
I think they're lucky that, as we mentioned earlier, there's no dominant team right now in the West.
Very.
They should be happy about that. Clay's been cool the last couple of games, but he's been going through it this season, which is, it's almost like karma in my book. Like you talk shit about people, which is very unwarranted, and now you're playing like shit. So it's kind of like, karma. And this is coming from somebody who, I was a big Klay Thompson fan until he started getting beside himself a little bit, which I don't appreciate that. Just as somebody, I mentioned before, like he's already been through so many injuries and stuff, like 2 career-threatening injuries. You should be a little more humble about your approach and how you talk about other, NBA peers. That's just my thinking. But
yeah, for sure. I mean, there's one thing about trash talking in the game.
He's not himself. He's not Klay Thompson of old.
No, he's still fine, but I mean,
he's cool.
He's definitely not what he once was. That's for sure. But
he's cool.
I mean that's to be expected after going through 2 injuries of that level of severity, especially at the age at which he suffered them as well. I mean, there's very few guys that are going to come back from that and be just as good as they were before.
I mean, Klay had like a 4-year peak of perennial all-star. So, I think he was kind of I don't think he was expected to get back to perennial all-star, but I think there is a gray area. I guess less of a gray area, just more of like a solid level between perennial all-star and between being washed. But earlier in the season, he was looking straight just not that good of a NBA player.
He's kind of looked like that up until the last couple games, honestly.
That's what I mean.
He's struggling.
Yeah, he looked just straight bad, but now it's maybe he can still be a solid contributing player and be above average. Maybe get back to that. Now I'm not expecting 41 every night, but now maybe he can. I think he still averaged almost 20 last year. So if he can get close to that, I think he can save the narratives and maybe get back to some quality. Hopefully that flips the script. Now, we didn't see him the game after, so we don't know what his actual next performance is going to look like. But if that can kind of turn him up, that'll be very helpful, I think, to this team's overall success. But he's going to have to wait at least one more game because they play the Clippers next. So I need him to hold off just a little bit for my narratives.
I gotta look something up because I swear I saw a tweet the other day that said Draymond shooting the best he shot from 3 since 2016, and that is not the case. I just looked it up. He's shooting 29% from 3.
Yeah, his best 3-point shooting percentage was in the 2015-16 season. He shot 38.8% that year, which is wild.
I remember playing 2K that year, and Draymond, his release was pretty awful, but I think he was a solid. I think he had a B+ 3-point rating, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Twitter be lying. This man is really shooting 29% from 3 this season, and I saw a tweet the other day that said Draymond shooting his best since 15-16. That's such a lie.
Yeah, it is his 4th worst 3-point shooting percentage season on the least attempts since his rookie season. So,
come on, man.
Definitely not his best.
Come on, man. Yeah, I gotta reply to the person that I saw tweet that because that's a damn lie.
Draymond is also him and Klay both. They're not themselves.
No, he has his highest field goal percentage, but not from 3. Not from 3, but he is 56% from the field, which is significantly better than he's ever been. But that's not 3-point shots. That's for sure.
This tweet says 3-point percentage.
That is 2 very different things.
2 very different things because he was, like you said, he was shooting 38% that season, which was unprecedented for Draymond, and that's the year where he had 7 3-point made game in the finals, where he dropped 32.
Yeah.
I hate Twitter.
Steph just needs they need to make his new big three just him, Wiggins, and Poole, man. Like Steph is so good, man. But the players who helped him build Rome, they just are not. They're
not aging the best. We'll say that.
They're not aging. Curry is aging like wine, and Clay and Draymond, I don't want to say they're aging like milk, but maybe they're aging like some Sprite.
They're not aging good. I'll say that because
yes.
In the finals, they're probably the two worst starters on the floor from both teams.
That's what I mean. They're aging like Sprite. Like they're drinkable when it gets older, but maybe some of that fizz has gone down, gone a little flat, and it's not optimal.
Sprite is my favorite pop, man. Do not disrespect Sprite. It's like
But when it ages,
I think it's more like Coke.
Like
when
Coke doesn't have
when Coke gets flat, when Coca-Cola gets flat, I don't want to drink it. Now Sprite, you throw some ice in it, it's tolerable. But Coke is like, nah, Coca-Cola, nah, I'm cool.
All future Sprite sponsorships gone.
Just gone. Like, man, Gabe.
Nah, bro. Nah. Sprite.
You gotta settle for 7-Up now.
When Sprite. No, because listen,
Sierra Mist.
fresh Sprite that's like crisp, because you know what I mean. Sprite is crispy. It's not like it might be a liquid. Sprite is crisp, and everybody knows. Everybody's in on it. Now, if it's from McDonald's, that shit is damn near crunchy. But
it's liquor. It is liquor. It's not. That's not Sprite, man. That's liquor.
Sprite is a friend of the pod. The Sacramento Kings are a friend of the pod.
Yes.
The LA Clippers are friends of at least 1/3 of the pod. There's a lot of people that
I like the Clippers a lot.
Okay. There's a lot of friends of the pod. There's some that are not friends. Like the Washington Wizards, not friends of the pod.
Hey, we did not say anything bad about the Wizards today. We said they're playing good. I said they're playing good basketball, and Dev said, yeah, they are.
Yeah, but they still have Bradley Beal's contract, so it's that. Yeah.
Going straight.
Focus on them now. They're playing good basketball.
They are playing good basketball. You
strays at Coke. How are you going to throw strays at Coca-Cola? Like that's the biggest brand in the world. Like I'm a
notorious Coca-Cola and Pepsi hater. I don't like them. They're not that good.
Do you dislike all like dark pop? Are you only like a Sprite 7-Up type guy?
Yeah. I used to like dark pop, but over the years, like when I stopped drinking pop and I got back to like drinking it like on occasion, I would stick to like Sprite or like orange sodas, like stuff like that. Not a big dark soda guy.
I do love a good Fanta or Sunkist. I will be honest.
Underrated, man. It's so underrated.
I used to smash Dr. Pepper as well. I do not drink Dr. Pepper anymore.
I'm ashamed I used to drink that, man. I used to really like when I was like 10, 11, 12, I used to drink pop every day, which is just so bad. Like if you want to cut something out of your life, pop is the one thing that you have to cut out.
Drinks are crucial, man. Like that, like if people just like don't control their diet at all, and then they just cut out like pop and alcohol, dude, they'll drop a stupid amount of weight so fast.
You just feel better overall as a person. Pop is terrible. Yeah.
I have never been a consumer of either, so I can't say I've experienced the negative, but definitely healthy. So
you've never been a soda drinker in your life? Like
no, never.
That's good.
I've maybe had like obviously a couple when I was younger just to try it, but no, never.
That's good. I felt like when I was a kid, I used to drink it every day. Like it was just a habit. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
me too. It's like stop by the gas station and like where I used to pick up like just straight pop. Now I do have a little bit of a coffee addiction. I will be honest, but it'll either be like a little coffee or like some like when I like the Bang coffees because they have like some protein in there and it's like not as bad as like the Starbucks ones, but. Still probably not the best, but like it used to be just straight get a Dr. Pepper, get a Mountain Dew Code Red, get some absolute BS. But I'm not gonna lie, Dad, when you first hesitated, like on the whole pop thing, I thought you were about to come in and say like, I used to drink a 2-liter of Coca-Cola like every day. Like I thought it was gonna be like the opposite. And I was like,
Jeez.
I was sitting here,
That
it's
would've
gonna
been
go
terrible.
50-50. What is this man about to say? You know?
Jeez.
I'm
Like,
like, I have my water, might have a glass of milk or two a day, and that's about it.
Milk used to be my. I hate people that say like drinking milk is nasty. I used to drink milk all the time. I stopped doing that though. I stopped. It's because I switched to almond milk, and almond milk is not as appealing to drink by itself.
Yeah,
I
that's true.
100% agree. When I was a kid, like being at my grandparents all the time and all that, I used to drink a stupid amount of milk. But like
It
now,
was so
I mean, I always keep regular milk in the house because if I need it as a cooking ingredient, then like. But one time I made some hamburger helper with some almond milk, and it was really strange. So ever since then, I'm like, okay, I gotta keep some regular milk in the house. But I'm more of an almond milk guy overall. So like, I cannot just drink a cup of almond milk. It's the strangest thing.
But some advice, Gabe, since you said you have a coffee addiction, because I went through a stretch where I used to drink coffee like daily. Had to stop that stuff because it's so bad for you. Instead, substitute it with a fruit smoothie. That's all you gotta do. Get you a blender if you don't have one. Substitute it with a smoothie. You will have a little more energy. It won't be as much as that kick that coffee has, but it will last a little longer and you'll feel better. Because coffee makes you feel like trash.
I used to be a fruit smoothie savant. The big thing is a K-cup cost a lot less than that fruit, bro. They be taxing with that inflation. Like
they are expensive. What you should do is just get some frozen fruit from wherever you do your grocery shopping.
Yep.
Little pricey, not gonna lie. Like a bag of like strawberries and bananas is like close to 10. It's expensive. It's close to $10. Very expensive, but it'll last a little bit, and you won't have to wake up and make a coffee every day. And it tastes better. It tastes better too. And you can add protein to it. I know you're trying to get gains. Add some protein to it.
Yeah, bro. For the longest time, like the first summer that I lost like 60 pounds, and I was for real making like strawberry banana smoothie, throwing a little bit of peanut butter, throwing some protein powder. Like I was putting that whey protein in there. It's getting me right. It was getting me. And then occasionally, and this is gonna sound kind of strange, I was adding avocado to all my smoothies because avocado has like barely any flavor at all, right? And it makes it look kind of a strange color, but it has barely any flavor, but it has that fiber. So it was keeping me full forever. Can't beat it. Can't beat it. Avocado is the secret ingredient to a smoothie to where if you're like, oh, yeah, I want to have something healthy like that, but I don't think it's going to keep me full. I swear by avocado.
Valid. Yeah. Yeah, coffee is just it's like the caffeine kick is good like when you need it, but then that drop off just hits you so bad. And then it's like by the middle of the day, you're back to being tired. You feel drained. It's just so terrible.
Yes. Yeah. Today was my first coffeeless day in so long. And I'll be honest, I wanted to be a lot more productive today than I was. Because I was really sitting there until like I didn't take a shower and like get ready for my day. I was just chilling in like pajama type clothes till like 3:00, bro. Like I was just chilling around the house, just like doing whatever. That coffee is like I'm trying to break the addiction. So that way, especially my big thing when I'm on like academic breaks, I like don't drink any coffee. So that way I can build that tolerance again. And it's like, okay, now if I get back to it, I'll get that kick a little bit better. Which is not the healthiest thing in the world, but
at all. No shot.
During college, sometimes you need that.
Yeah, college is something else.
It really is.
Hey man, I think we can all three agree and say, yeah, I think that's why we missed a week of the pod. It's one word, and that one word is college.
And that's facts. That is
Yeah.
fact.
I knew it was all mutual because nobody said anything last week, and I'm like, probably all going through like some stuff right now, so
Yeah.
we can take a week off.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an unnecessary need sometimes. One more week of chaos, and then we're somewhat normal. Which I'm probably the only person saying that before finals start, but that's how my semester's been. So bring on
Most
finals at this point.
This is just that this is like the eye of the hurricane week. I feel like stuff just got really hectic, and now we have like Thanksgiving break. I don't know if you also have like a break at the same time, Dev, but
No, I had a week off the week of Remembrance Day, so like not last week, but the week before I had a week off. But now I'm full stretch in.
So I guess that's sort of just like you're in the aftermath of that kind of break season, but like you get that break and then you come back and then it's like everything just hits like a truck.
It's like every
right
day.
And you come back and it's like all of a sudden it's like almost finals time. And it's like it's just so much, and so it's like this week is going to be really that calm before the storm of like, man, I feel so good, get a nice break, get refreshed, come back, just right into the thick of it. And college is a hell of a thing, man.
It's not for the weak.
No, I'm not saying I'm the strongest individual, but man. Aren't you an engineering major too, Dad?
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah, you're probably going through it worse than we are. We're complaining about journalism. That sounds like hell.
It's not the most enjoyable time. I'll put it that way. I will put it that way. I will have only 2 midterms left after tomorrow, and that'll be signaling my 9th of this semester. So I'm definitely looking forward to being done those.
Not saying I missed those, but me and Gabe were talking, I think this was last week, and we were saying like basically we wish we had like pen and paper tests instead of projects. Though it's always projects.
Yeah, that's
right.
fair.
I hate it so much, bro, because it's like it all has to be done outside of class.
Yeah.
And what we learn in class is like we don't even really learn in class. Like
we don't learn nothing in class, bro. We don't learn anything in class. So it's like I feel like it's just a job. I already have a job.
Yeah. Yeah. Journalism is and what makes me even more mad at myself is I no longer know I know I don't want to be a journalist anymore because social media is the way to go. And it's like, why am I taking these classes? Like I should have switched my major sooner, but I'm almost done, so it's like pointless right now. It's something, man. It's something.
I found myself at a crossroads, and I said, "Listen, I can graduate early and get done and just be done, or I can be a lot happier for the next year and a half." And so, like, at that point, I'm like, I think I'm going to switch course. And I think it's for the best, man. I think it's definitely for the best. Getting a nice little clean, fresh start. Might take a little bit longer, but now instead of being done early, it's like I'm done on time. It's like I was saying with taking the L earlier. It's like this is why you set yourself up well early, because that way I have a contingency plan for when the going gets tough.
Yeah,
definitely, man. Definitely. Hell, that's what saved me in high school. Like I had my second bad concussion in grade 12. I took a bunch of grade 12 courses in grade 11, so I was fine because I only ended up doing 2 courses my second semester of grade 12 because I couldn't take anything else. Like I missed probably a combined 2 to 3 months of school in grade 12. So it's like that backup plan is nice to have sometimes. Sometimes you don't need it, but it's nice to have that little bit of cushion for sure.
Definitely. So, Gabe, you're going to be done now, not this coming spring, but spring 24?
Yes, that is the normal 4-year track for coming out of high school for me, because I got done with high school spring 2020. So now I guess I'm just going to be a normal student again, man. I think I'm just going to be a normal student. Now, watch, maybe I'm going to talk to my academic advisors, and they're going to be like, oh, enough of this major transfers over to your other major that, like, oh, you can still be done early. And if that actually happened, which I wouldn't be surprised because I take a lot of classes with like comm majors and stuff already. So it's like, I know there is a lot of overlap, but I feel like it might be just enough to where I got to add on a little bit more. And at the end of the day, that's okay. Because like with the way housing and stuff works, it's like, I'm locked into my lease until the end of what would be that next school year anyways. So it's like, I'm going to be in the area. I'm going to be, still in school mode. I really don't think it's that much of a negative, especially if I'm doing something that I think is going to be for the betterment of me, not just for the next year and a half, but going into a career for the next 40 years. If it's something I'm enjoying a lot more and gives me more flexibility to have more options, it's like some short-term sacrifice is definitely worth the long-term satisfaction.
That's the most important part, man. You got to do that. That's what my dad told me when I first switched majors. He's like, you got to do what's best for yourself. 100%. So if that's switching majors with what you would have like basically a year left, if that's what's best for you, then go ahead and do it.
Yeah, definitely.
Your piece is more important than some piece of paper. I'll tell you that.
Big facts.
That piece, man. Yes. Being aware of all the resources at all times, definitely taking advantage of all the ones I got. So it's like, bro, it's just, that awareness. And like, as we get to that winter, I know it's going to be as crucial as ever because those northern winters, and I don't even want to think about that Saskatchewan winter up there. Man. With this weather, I'm like, hey, man, getting that peace of mind and just doing something that gives you real satisfaction is peak. It is peak importance.
Facts.
Definitely. Such a grueling grind going through all the schooling sometimes, either whether it's a step back or needing to switch things up, it's important to do. Definitely needed sometimes. There's a reason I took 2 semesters off, I'll tell you that much.
You're better. I feel like if I took a semester off, I would not go back. Like, I really feel like I would do that.
Yeah. I was worried about that too, but at the same time when I did it, I don't even want to know where my mental would have been at if I did that for another month. So
I feel it.
Sometimes you just know you need a break.
I feel like what makes school even like worse is like the fact that you're away from your family for so long.
It definitely doesn't help.
I feel like I would be doing better if I had my family like still in the house. But I'm only an hour away, but it's still like that's long enough to where I can't just like up and go there like during the week because I have class. Yeah. So it's like it's tough.
Yeah, that's low key facts. I think because I'm like my hometown's only like an hour and a half away, so I would be home like every 2 weeks or so. I'd get back over and I'm just like, hey, like. Come visit in with the family, see some old friends from back home, and then just as time kind of went by, some of those experiences back home kind of got less satisfying as well. And so I was like, okay, I think it's about time to like really get out of the nest, break away, and just like kind of forge my own path for a while. But dang, like I'll tell you, like I just have like my dad came up this past weekend, and I'm like, dang. Yeah, it does feel really nice just seeing family, like spending time with the people closest to you. Like, and so now it's like Thanksgiving week's coming up and it's like getting home, seeing my mom, seeing everybody back home. It's like, okay, I'm definitely more ready than I've ever been. And it's like now they say like, the distance makes the heart grow fonder. Like, dang, yeah, now that I haven't really seen anybody or been around for over a month at this point, like, and really, even then, like maybe there's some people I haven't seen in like well over that amount of time. So it's like, dang, yeah, getting back, the family ties are important, man. I think that's something you don't really value until you get older because as you're growing up, you're with them all the time. You live with them, you're raised by them. They're like sort of authority figures. So then it's like, oh, now it's like it's stuff that can get adverse sometimes, but overall. Family ties, as you get older, become some of the most crucial ties in your life, and you don't even realize it.
Yeah, it's like growing up. We probably all were like, I can't wait to like leave home, get out of my home, get my own place. And I was like, dang, I kind of miss home. And like you said, Gabe, like just getting to spend like a day or a weekend with like a family member, your whole family in general, like those moments mean some things, even if it's like a couple hours, like it means a lot. Like last weekend, I got to go home for a couple days because it was my nephew's birthday. Went to his party, got to see him and the family. And then my cousin got married on, I think it was Sunday. So I got to be home for a little bit. It just felt so good to be home, be around family. Because it's like most of the time I'm either in my apartment by myself or I'm working for the Blue Jackets or I'm at the Lantern or I'm at school. It's like it's always something on the go. So it's just good to be around like people that don't expect anything from you. And you can just sit there, be yourself, and just enjoy quality time with the people that you grew up with.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
no, I think like, it's like you just think about it. It's like, man, there's a good chance that you've spent damn near 50%, if not more, of like the time that you might spend with your family in your lifetime. Like it might have already passed because of that time spent living together and being in the house. So it's like just having that access and the ability to just go visit. Like always take advantage of that when you can, because your time is always limited and time is the most valuable and precious resource. So whether that's family members, whether that's close friends that are damn near like family or whoever it may be, the people who you spend time with changes drastically over your life, whether that's spending more time working or once you have like your own wife and kids, then you're going to be spending so much time being caught up with that. And then maybe you're not seeing your parents and your people as much. So like, really, time is just so valuable. And I think being at that crossroads of like the early to mid 20s, where it's like getting away from like the childhood part of your life before establishing your own family at the same time, that like intermittent realization, I think is so important for setting up the second half of your life.
That's well said.
Getting philosophical on 3 Point Weekly, man.
Man.
They come for the basketball.
Making me ready to go home. I can't go home until like Wednesday night at the earliest. I'm so like, I'm not mad about it, but it's like, dang, I'd rather be home right now, honestly.
Mine will either be,
but
mine will always be, or mine will be tomorrow or Wednesday. I was almost considering tonight, but then we were talking about recording, and I'm like, yeah, I wasn't really trying to drive super late anyway. So I'm like, yeah, I think I'm gonna just hit the pod here, especially because I'm like, could I bust out like an episode from my mom's house? Like, obviously, I did it all summer and all that, but it's like, I think I want to do this here. So I'll get home and I'll enjoy my time home, but have some last minute stuff to take care of first.
No, for sure.
It's definitely cool though.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, you got any big plans this week?
Yeah, I have such a busy. This is my off week, right? But a busy week because
right.
Blue Jackets game Wednesday, which I could have got it off, but I'm already taking Friday's game off, so I'm gonna just work Wednesday and then drive home either Wednesday night or early Thursday on Thanksgiving. Enjoy some time with the family Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday got to be back in Columbus for Ohio State, Michigan, because I have to work that game.
It's a big one.
Busy week, and then I'll have to go back home after that because Saturday's also my twin sisters, their birthday, so I have to be there for that. At least spend some time with them for that, and then I'll probably get at least the rest of the weekend to chill with them, and then I'll probably be back Monday in Columbus. So
wait, okay, I need some clarification on what you just said. Your twin sisters. So your twin, like, are you a triplet? Or
no.
Okay.
Always confuses people. Yeah, they're twins, and they're my younger sisters.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I was about to say, I'm like, if you were a triplet, I just keep learning. Devin, did you know all 3 people on this podcast were born in different countries?
No, I did not know that.
Yes. So yes. I was
Gabe didn't believe me, but
I didn't. I was calling BS. No, because listen, so we found out Tyrik shares a lot of similarities with a certain 21 Savage. So obviously I was born in the States, born in Ohio, born and raised,
Yeah.
Been in the same state damn near my entire life. Obviously, you're from Canada. I know you're from Canada. I don't know if you were born in like Saskatchewan area.
Yeah, I've been here the whole time.
Okay. So yeah,
Saskatchewan.
Canada, the States. So I'm like, okay, I know like Tyrik's moved around, been a couple of different places, but I assumed just in the States. So we're talking last week at work, and he's like, yeah, I'm British. I'm English. I'm from
He
England.
really didn't
I'm
believe
like,
it.
and I was like, what are you talking about right now? Like, bro, you're from Springfield. Like, huh? Like, what? And he's like, nah, bro, I'm from England. I'm like, dude, you gotta be lying. He's like, I'll call my mom right now. I'm like, do it. I did not believe him at all. And he called her. To his credit, he called her. She didn't answer. So we did not get an answer. And then we're in class on Friday, and they're talking like, is anybody here like international, like from a different country or anything? And Tyrik
Nobody raised their hand. Nobody raised their hand. I'm like, fuck, I gotta raise my hand. So I raised it real quick. And then our teacher, she pointed at me and she was like, you are like, she's like, where you from? I was like, I was born in England. And then everybody's like, oh, yeah.
Tyrik is British.
I am.
So,
yeah, my mom's side of the family. Huh?
Are you a citizen? Are you a citizen of England?
I have dual citizenship, yes. So I could live there if I wanted to, but I don't.
So when England beat the US at the end of the week, you can just flip the England card and you'll be good to go.
I can, yes, I definitely can. I still root for England internationally in soccer. But see, that's why I can still flex in basketball though, because the US is superior in basketball. At least they have been. But yeah. See, Gabe, there's a reason why I probably haven't told you that, which I thought I did. But one, I personally don't think it's that big of a deal, but people think it's so like amazing. I'm like, it's really not. England's not that great of a place. But I don't know. I hate telling people because it's like they have like just a reaction like, oh my God, like that's so great. I'm like, it's not. And then I have to explain like, how did I get to Ohio? That's always the question. Like, how did you end up here? Have to explain that. And it's such a long story. It's just like,
I mean, it's obvious you've been around because it's like talking to you, you like don't sound British or anything. Yeah. So it's like English born, I assume, raised in America, given dialect and everything.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I can explain to y'all because y'all are my guys. So I can explain to y'all. So was born in England. I lived there until I was 5. I think we moved when I was 5 because my mom's from England. Well, she was born in Northern Ireland, but she lived in England like most of her life. So basically, that's where her side of the family resided. My mom and my dad. My dad's also American. He was in the Air Force. My birth dad, he was American. He is American. They split up when I was like maybe 1 year old. My mom and my stepdad, he was also in the Air Force. He's the one that's from Springfield, Ohio, which is how we ended up in Springfield. They got together, got married. So we moved wherever he moved. Obviously, he was in the Air Force. So that's how we bounced around like a lot of different places. And when he retired, he wanted to move back home, which makes sense. So that's the short story of how we ended up back in Ohio. But yes, I was born in England, lived there for the first 5 years of my life.
Okay. So this is so yeah, I was gonna say because I knew there's no way you could be full English and not at least sound a little British, because even like that, just the dialect like in the home, I feel like has a certain impact on like whether that be an accent or just like the phrases people say. So I was like, there has to be something deeper there. But yes, the fun fact is that this is a podcast with 3 people of 3 different nationalities, technically.
Diversity.
Not wrong.
We are worldwide, international, intercontinental.
And Gabe is well traveled. He's been to Europe.
This is true. Man. This is true.
I got ties to Greece, Turkey. Bro, the Brits called me the third Paul brother, and I'm from the same state as the Pauls. Like, what can I say?
That sounds like something the Brit would say. Third Paul brother. They might as well invite you onto the pod. We're gonna clip that. We're gonna send it to them. They probably won't see it, but we're gonna try.
Hey, listen. If Logan Paul ever wants me on the pod, Get me. Get me.
Bro, bro's really should be sponsored, man. Should be sponsored.
I should
Just
be
don't turn
sponsored, man.
Don't turn into one of those like the Drake and Lil Durk like lookalikes. Like, don't turn into one of those guys.
Hey, man. I'm already a little bit of a lookalike. Come on, man.
Oh, man.
I'm there.
I need to try. I need to travel more though.
Far. Sounds like
Was
you gotta go
Greece?
to the homeland. You're a citizen.
I haven't been since I was like 10 or 11. It's been a long time.
That's half your lifetime ago. I think you
Legit.
gotta get to the UK, and I gotta go with you. And it's time to watch. We gotta watch. You gotta watch some Manchester football, man.
I'm a United fan, so we can go to Man United.
Dev, you in? You coming to see Man U?
I'm in. I won't be supporting them, but I'm in.
3-Point Weekly takes on Manchester. Okay.
Okay.
I feel like Dev said he's like a Chelsea fan.
I am a Chelsea fan.
Yeah, I don't know why I remember that, but I know we talk some soccer on this podcast. So okay. I always hated Chelsea.
One of the first conversations I really ever had with a Brit was me talking. I was just talking to my guy when I was on this cruise, and there was a Premier League game on at this like sports bar in this boat, and I was sitting there just walking through this hallway by the elevators, like, yo, so like, is Tottenham the only team with like a name? Like the rest is just like City FC, but they're like the Spurs. So like, are they the only team that has like a name? And this British lady like is kind of next to me, and she was like, "Now what did you say?" And I was like, because I had never spoken to a British person in my life. So I was like, "Oh my gosh, I've seen like so many British accents on like YouTube and just like in media and stuff." I'm like, bro, this is the coolest thing that's ever happened to me. Like I'm talking to a real life British person. So I was just like, yeah, like the Tottenham, they're like the Spurs, right? And she was like, Tottenham, and because they say it like they don't pronounce the H, and already I was like, fuck, I just said it wrong. I was like, dude, I just got the whole accent wrong. Like I look like a classic stupid American right now. So she's like, yeah, and then that same lady and her husband. I somehow ended up talking to him in like an elevator or something. He gave me a nice little cheers on the way out. And anytime a British person says cheers to me, that was just like, man, I really made it, bro. I really made it. I'm like, dude, this is crazy stuff. But by the end of the week, the Brits were like, okay, you're a little bit different from the stereotypical American. You know, you're a lot less loud and brash. You're pretty cool. You're pretty cool. You passed the test. So I was like, you know what? Take that on the chest, man. I'll take that on the chest. I went international and I fit in. I passed the test.
Passed the vibe test.
There's definitely some cool experiences like that, though, whether it's cruises or international trips or whatnot. Like I'll always remember when I was like, I think it was like 12 or 13 when we went to Disney World, and there was just this. I forget if it was just one guy or a family from Quebec. That was there as well, and like we just were chatting away in French for however long. Which like I took French immersion all the way through grade 12, but not that many French speakers around, so you never really get to do it in day-to-day life. But it's like I went to France years later, and that was a whole other level. But just even at that young age, be like, yeah, okay, let me just have a 5-minute chat with someone randomly in French. It's like that's just the cool stuff you don't get to do day to day otherwise.
That is such a flex.
I wouldn't be able to do it as well now. I'll tell you that much. I haven't spoken much in 3 years, but
like I took 3 years of Spanish in high school. I could not have a 5-minute conversation. Even fresh out of high school, I could not do that. No chance.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't.
If I could give myself one skill, if I could give myself one skill right now, I think it really would be speaking multiple languages. Like one, like reasonable skill.
Mine would be cooking.
Cooking,
like
cooking?
really,
very nice.
like really being able to cook, like chef type style. Like that would be the one skill I would want.
Yeah, that'd be really nice.
Like I'd be
Hey,
seeing
man.
TikToks of people like really cooking some stuff, and I'd be saving the videos knowing damn well I'm not gonna cook that. And even if I tried, it's not gonna look as good or probably taste as good. Like no,
Not with that mindset.
I'm not a chef, man. Like that did not get passed down to me through the family tree. I'm just not a chef. All the women in my family can cook, but none of the men can cook on both sides. So it's just gotta take it how it is.
Hey, man, yeah. I think I always tell people the best cook I know is my grandma. And the second best cook I know is her son, which is my dad. So it's like, it's pretty balanced for me on both sides. And then my mom's definitely underrated. She's got some stuff in there. I think I do get like kind of used to it over time because you see the same like recipe rotation and it's like, I don't know. But like, there's underrated, man. So I feel like I got pretty lucky with like guys and girls in my family, and definitely from being around my mom all the time and around like just men and women. Because I don't know, in my family dynamic there was like some separation of like the sexes, but now like I feel like I really tried to reach out and acquire some stuff from both sides. So it's like I got some of that cooking trait too, which is nice. Because now that I live on my own, it's like, man, I don't got a wife or nothing. Like, I need to be apt at cooking somewhat, at cleaning at a certain level, at everything. Like, there ain't no room for any gender roles or anything. And even like if I did have a wife or something, I'm like, man, at a certain point, bro, if I'm home and I'm hungry, I'm not waiting for somebody. Like, I'm about to make some food and it's about to be pretty dang good at the same time.
Like I can make stuff. I can make stuff that.
Too.
Yeah, like I can make stuff that I like,
Mm-hmm.
but cooking for other, like if I'm cooking meals for like multiple people, nah, no chance. And I don't want to run the risk of them not liking it because that's gonna kill me. I'm like, yeah, I'm cool. Like
Yeah,
I can cook things that I like, and I'm a basic person, so it's not hard.
I feel that. That is a post school adventure for me. I want to get there, but that is not something I'm diving into yet. That's for sure.
Most definitely. When I have the money to burn on like buying like actual foods and like steak and fish and stuff like that, I'll jump that bridge in the future. But now is not the time.
Yeah, I feel that.
I just need a good I have like a base spice collection, you know. Like I've got my garlic powder, my onion powder, my black pepper, my red pepper, salt, like the real essentials. But really, like branching out and getting stuff, it's just gonna be on like a when I need it basis. Like if I see like something I want to make for like a family get together, then it's like, okay, now I'm gonna buy the ingredients I need, and that's just gonna be added to my spice collection. So I think that like slow acquisition rate, because you buy spices and stuff way quicker than you use them, obviously. So things like in high school, I was more of a sauce guy, but then when I tried to get healthier, I became more of a seasoning guy. So that like totally upped my cooking game, because now instead of just like throwing some chicken in, taking it out, and then just dousing it with sauce, now suddenly I'm putting all these different spices on it to make it taste good before I even cook it. And it's like, it's a different level. It's a whole different world.
Yeah, the spice cabinet always has to be full. That's essential. Yeah.
Cooking for other people is something I didn't really think of, though, because it's like different people's preferences. Like, there's going to be some people, especially, I think the biggest thing is spice. There's some people who it's like, bro, you need to put some heat on that meat. And then there's some other people who are not about that life at all. So it's like, when you're cooking for other people, I feel like you do kind of have to play it safe sometimes and go a little bit bland. Because, like, say you're the person who likes spice, but then, like, your girl or something doesn't like spicy stuff. All of a sudden, you can't really cook it like that because you got to make something that's good for both of y'all.
That's why it's better to just take her out to dinner. Pay the money for dinner, man.
That's facts.
Spoken like a true man.
Hey,
got no shame in admitting it.
Hey. My last couple of dates, definitely you took her out. did not even try to cook something at home because I'm not that guy. I am not that guy.
Hey man,
Gotta play to your strengths.
Gotta play with your strengths.
yeah. Last time I tried to cook for a girl, bro. I mean, we were together, so it was just like more funny than anything. But I definitely undercooked some chicken severely.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I had to put it back in the oven. Retrospect, I was like,
Better than me.
that is
I could
mad.
cook my chicken in the air fryer, so I know that stuff be done. Air fryer is the way to go, man.
Air fryer is the way to go. My mom had an air fryer, and I was like abusing that shit. It was bad. Now that I'm on my own, I'm more of an oven guy. I haven't become a stovetop guy yet. I know some people just be like frying it in a pan, but I just preheat the oven, put it on a baking sheet, throw it in for half an hour. That's just been my go-to forever. But then while it's in the oven, I'm just attending to other stuff like cooking pasta or cooking whatever it may be, and that's my stovetop.
That's valid.
Maximizing the time, man.
I actually never use I always cook my chicken in the air fryer. Like I never use my oven. I don't remember the last time I used my oven, to be honest.
Dang. That's true. I use mine like all the time. They're like either I'm using the oven or I'm probably just having a cold meal. Occasionally I might get something like microwavable, but like either I'm using the oven to make like some chicken pasta or maybe stovetop just for like pasta based stuff, or like I'm just literally making a sandwich and eating a couple like chips with it or something.
It's the simple things, man. Simple things in life.
It's the simple things in life, bro. Because listen, this is college student eating right here. Is that I was just eating a bunch of sandwiches like turkey, ham, peanut butter and jelly, whatever it may be, with just like whatever side item I could think of that night. Or I just run to the corner store real quick and like buy a bag of Grippos or something. But then I was like, man, if I'm gonna be eating these sandwiches like all the time, I need to upgrade. So now I go to the store, buy myself a nice little sourdough round, buy myself some like Italian bread or something. So now instead of just eating like straight like wheat bread, it's like I got the bougie sandwiches. You know what I'm saying?
Gotta make it feel high class.
Yeah. So it's like it's simple, but it's high class simple. Because
And the thing is with being a journalism major, you eat once a day, you're eating stress the rest of it, so you only got to eat like once. Everything else is just stress, so you're not even hungry anymore.
Hey, bro, you might want to check the camera real quick because, bro, you were spitting right there. I'm not gonna lie, my guy. You were spitting. Man. Like, bro, it's these past couple weeks because I would go to class and then come back to the crib, eat something, and then I go back to like work in the evening. But now, when I was doing we were doing like our college pod or doing like just other stuff that had to be done between class and work, I wasn't going home at all. So it was for real. Wake up, drink a cup of coffee, run on that cup of coffee until like 8 p.m. when I finally eat something. Like it was getting severe.
Bro,
Yeah,
like
that
there have been days recently where I don't even think I've eaten anything. Like, it'd just be water, maybe a protein bar or something. Like that's it. Like just running off of fumes, bro. It's the college life, man.
Yeah,
Water ain't never tasted so good, man.
So good.
yeah. My schedule is actually pretty nice this semester. I haven't dealt with that much, but I definitely have a lot of 8 or 9 hour days next semester. But even still, that's not too bad. You miss lunch, but that is what it is. But yeah, college definitely be interesting for eating schedules. That's for damn sure. It's definitely not for normal eating. Not for normal eating. Not for normal sleeping. It just lacks a lot of normalcy. That's for damn sure.
Gym schedule gets thrown off. Like I haven't been to the gym in like 2 weeks. Been slacking. It's just like I just can't find the time or the energy to go. It sucks.
Yeah, after last week, I woke up today. Like I said, I didn't do nothing till like 3:30. I definitely could have went to the gym, but I mean, In my defense, I ran a 5K yesterday in 17-degree
did.
weather. So it's like, hey, man, I've been active this week. So, yeah.
How did that
it's
go?
like,
How did that go? The 5K.
bruh, I was cold as hell. I got there, and so my layers were a long sleeve shirt, then like a running jacket kind of material. It's more like a polyester thing, like sort of thinner, but also like kind of solid. And then like just a windbreaker type vest. And then I had a hoodie on in there too. So like 4 layers. And then I had like a little face shield to cover my face. And then gloves, 2 pairs of socks. So I was like dressed pretty thick, but no like winter coat or anything. So then when I was moving, like my dad picked me up in the morning. We went back to his hotel because it was downtown. And then walked from his hotel to where the race started, which was like probably like a 10, 15-minute walk. And so, the whole time you're walking, it's like, okay, it's cold, but it's like fine. Then you get there, you get in line to start. And the race started at 7:30, but because it starts in like different sets of people, like we were probably waiting from 7:10 to like we started actually running at 8. So that whole time, I'm just sitting there progressively stationary, getting colder and colder and colder. And eventually I'm just like, dude, I'm about to freeze. Like I had like 2 hand warmers in each glove. Ended up being 1 hand warmer in each glove because I put some in my feet because my toes were getting like ice cold. But then as soon as I started running, of course, right away, then you're hot. And you're just hot already. Now I'm like, I got all these layers on. So then eventually it's like, I like unzip my vest, but my vest had zip pockets. So then my phone was in one of the zip pockets, and I was like bouncing a little bit. And I was like, So it was like, I just can't win here. But, I just kept going. My training paid off. I was sad I didn't get to train the last like 2 weeks because college. But
College.
I got about like just probably 2.3 miles in, just like straight jogging. And then I was kind of pacing myself between like power walking a little bit, then back to a jog towards like the end. Finished just a little over 30 minutes, so around a 10-minute mile pace. But I was like, haven't been in the gym the past 2 weeks because of college having me down bad, plus it being 17 degrees. Still a better time than I had last year. And I was like cool with like, hey, when I do the treadmill, I usually go like 10-minute mile pace. So I was like, yeah, being right around that in this weather, I was pretty satisfied. But then as soon as I got through the finish line, bro, I stripped almost all my layers off. Got the snack they gave you. Went to go take a seat real quick. Bro, I probably sat down for like 2 minutes and just put the layers right back on. Because like the body heat you get from running gets you so hot. And then the second you stop, it's like, okay, I'm hot. Get this off. You get it off. And then you're like, wait a second. It's 17 degrees outside. And you just put it right back on. And so, yeah, it was definitely an experience, to say the least. I think I have a much easier time when the 5Ks are in the summer or the spring due to the weather and stuff. Because you can suffer through like a 40-degree morning and then just like start running at like 55 and feel cool in like a t-shirt, shorts type thing. But like when it's that cold, like you can't stand out there in thin layers. But then once you start running in the thick layers, you're gonna feel like it's too much. So it's really hard to strike that balance.
Yeah. Dealing with that weather when you're going from standing around to running is brutal. Like I like this time of year. Well, not if it keeps being negative 25 like it was last week, but if it's warmer this week. Like we got a park right out, like literally a 30-second walk from campus. So like I jump out in my sweater, I go for my run, I'm good to go, and I'm warm the whole time because I'm running. It's great because I don't get too warm because it's so cold. But if you're standing around like that, then yeah, that's brutal in this weather.
Did you say negative 25?
Yeah, it was like negative 15, feels like negative 25, which is negative 13 Fahrenheit last week.
The wind chill.
Yeah, it was brutal. It's more normal this week. It's like just below freezing this week, but last week was damn cold for some reason.
That is crazy.
Another reason why it's good we did not record last week, bro. That game, the game Saturday against Indiana for Ohio State was so cold. And I didn't have gloves for the game. I was outside the whole time. Brutal, bro. Like I kid you not, 3 hours after the game, I was still cold. Like I was freezing. Heat was on in my crib. I still had like layers on. I was laying down under the blanket. I was still cold. Like it was so brutal. Like nah. That was like one of the first snowfalls in Ohio too this year. It was so bad.
Bro, Ohio just isn't it's really not fair at all. Because it's like you got stuff like that. You got like I'm running this 5K with it being quite literally 17 degrees outside. Next Sunday, where I'm not going to be outside, I'm not even probably going to be in Columbus for a lot of the day. Like I'm not going to be a pedestrian at all. Just like walking everywhere, running outside, 17 degrees. Next Sunday, where I don't have to be outside, the low is 43.
Yes.
What more do I need to do? What more do I need to do? What did I do? What did I do to deserve this?
And this Saturday, the Ohio State Michigan game is supposed to rain all day, so that's fun. Be outside, the potential of people storming the field if Ohio State wins, so I have to deal with that. God, I really hate Ohio weather. It's like you said, Gabe, every time you have to do something, the weather is terrible. But if you're stuck at work all day or something, like the weather is beautiful, it's sunny, there's dogs running around outside. It's just such a great day. But as soon as you have to do something that's either storming or snowing or something, like I hate Ohio so much.
Hey, man, I wake up every day, go to this college, and I wonder, why do people from across the country and across the world really wake up and say, I want to go to Ohio?
Like, bro, give me
what
UCF.
Is wrong? Like,
just for just for the geography, bro. Give me like UCF, give me UCLA, USC. Just any place that's warm. Texas, Arizona, like so many places. Even like Northwest states. Like, give me those states. At least they're beautiful. Ohio's just so. It's not the worst place in the world, but it's just like, it's so bland, so cold.
I'd be asking the same thing about here. Over half the engineering department is international students, and it's like, why? I'm not even at a good university. This is one of the worst so-called big universities in the country. Like I don't know.
Insane. Makes no sense. I mean, Ohio State is prestigious, but it's like, why?
That's the
why
thing.
Ohio, bro?
Like I know, like we have a lot of international students, and I know like some of the programs are good, but I'm thinking, like, if I was like, if it was the other way around, and it was like, I was gonna go to college in, let's say, Germany. Bro, I'm going to Berlin.
Yeah, I've never been to Germany.
I'm not going to like this like a random place. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not like Ohio's not like the most random place, but it's like Columbus is not one of the first 5 cities you think of. When you think of when somebody from a different country thinks of America, you're probably thinking New York, LA, maybe like Houston, Miami, Chicago, San Francisco, stuff like that. Like if I think of the UK or something, I'm thinking
think of London. Think of London. Nobody knows where I was born, so I just tell them it's like an hour away from London. That's what I say. It's like
London, Manchester, Liverpool, like stuff like that. I'm not
even Liverpool's a stretch. I'm gonna be honest.
It probably is, and I can't comment because I have more English knowledge than the average person because of soccer. So, not that it's great.
Okay, Liverpool versus Ohio. Come on, man.
But it's funny because Ohio is like the 7th most populated state in America. So a lot of people come to Ohio for whatever reason. Maybe it's the housing's not that expensive, or I don't know what it is, bro.
Nobody is coming to Ohio. The only place in Ohio that's growing in population is Columbus, and I think that's because people come to the university and then stay. Besides that, everybody in the rest of Ohio was either born here or has been here since the 70s.
That's valid.
That sounds about where I'm at too.
That's valid.
Except for that it's way less for down than Ohio, but that's fine. And the closest place that anyone would be able to mention to me from an international standpoint would be Calgary or Winnipeg, and even that could be a stretch depending on the person, and that's like an 8-hour drive away. So
8 hours away
from my hometown, yeah, I'd be like 6 right now to Winnipeg, but yeah,
that's still far.
yeah.
Given
where I'm at right now isn't that small. It's like 220,000 people, but
bro,
yeah,
I know
6 hours would get you to
about
Chicago from where I'm from. Yeah.
Yeah, 6 hours for me gets you to Calgary or Winnipeg, which is about 1 million people. So I mean, it's
I just
not
know
small cities, but
the Flames.
6 hours from
Johnny
here.
Gaudreau used to play for them. That's all I know.
Calgary. I know Calgary for pro wrestling. That's about it. The Hart family, the Hart Dungeon. That's all I know about Calgary.
That's true too.
Oh, I guess Edmonton too. I'm about 6 hours from Edmonton, but
those are very notable. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
6 hours is crazy. Like 6 hours from here will get you to DC. It'll get you to Chicago.
DC's like 8. It's about 8.
DC's 6.5. And trust me, from experience, I've looked up that drive many times.
Well, okay, I'm thinking of from Springfield. From Springfield, it's about 7-ish. About 7.
The way Columbus highways going like east, like
closer,
you can make it like 6.5 or so. But
yeah, Chicago's about
like
6.
You can get probably Detroit. You can get like a lot of places.
Detroit is closer, bro. I made that drive myself when I went to see J. Cole last year. It was like 3.5, maybe.
Indianapolis is like 2.
Yeah, it's 2 from Springfield, so Indy's not that far.
And so obviously not like the most like major of major cities besides like the Chicago or DC, but like
if you're an NBA fan, you know.
Notable cities with multiple professional sports teams.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and there's definitely a lot more cities in that area compared to where I'm at that are notable for sure. I'm like Calgary, Edmonton, Winnipeg, and then after that, it's like a 2-day drive to Vancouver or a 3-day drive to Toronto. Because after Winnipeg, there's just nothing for days until you get to Toronto.
That makes sense. That makes sense because, like, when we lived in North Dakota, the drive from where we lived to Minneapolis was like 12 hours. It was a long drive.
Yeah, that's a drive. It's about 16 hours for me to Minneapolis, so that would make sense. I'm about like 5 hours drive to the border. Yeah, it's a drive.
It's just like the difference between the East and the West in terms of like how long it takes to get places. Like, go look at a map of all the NBA teams. If you like split down like the middle of Texas or so, like you can argue like some locations, like a Spurs on like which side of the half they'd be on, Oklahoma City, stuff like that. But like realistically, like definitively the state is entirely in the western half of the continental US. You have like Denver, Utah, Portland, like Phoenix, and like the California teams.
Yeah.
All of the rest, like when you talk about just the geography, continental US, like Minnesota, Memphis, New Orleans, the Rockets, like all like Western Conference teams that like geography wise are easily in the eastern half of the country.
Then there's all those states that are just like nothing, like Wyoming, Montana.
Montana's huge. Montana's like
I know Montana's so big, but
like I would like to go to Montana just to see like what is this place?
I've never met one person from Montana.
Never. I don't think it's a real place. It's on the map, but is it real? I don't think it is.
I would guess it's pretty much exactly what I'm living, just a bit rockier, and that's about it. So, in translation, nothing too exciting.
Like I think they have don't they have a big like state national like a national park? That might be all that's in Montana.
I know Wyoming is real because it has Yellowstone and Josh Allen went to college there.
Allegedly is real. I don't know if it is. Same thing with like Idaho. Is it real? I don't know.
Those potatoes hit too hard. But they be calling them French fries and they're not French. So is Idaho real?
I don't know if it is, bro. Like I've never been to these states. So I couldn't really tell you. Like I'm just not sure.
No, surely how does any state get shaped like that?
Good question. Very good question.
Like, who looked at Oklahoma and was like, I'm kind of hungry. I'm going to make this state look like a pan. Like, who?
I have so many questions, like, just about those states. Like, I don't think they're real, man, but whatever they want to tell us, but I just don't think they're real, man. Like,
I've never been west of Chicago, bro. Anything west of that is like not real.
Yeah.
Never happened.
I only believe North Dakota is real because I lived there for a couple of years, so that's the only reason why I know it's real.
Yeah, I can vouch for the Dakotas and for Minnesota, but that's as far as that goes.
That's it. That's it. I think we might have drove through Iowa, but even then, I don't think it's real because I don't really remember it. So it's like, I don't know.
I know. Okay, I mean, at least west-wise, I know California is real because there's no way there's that many Lakers fans if California wasn't real.
The coast is real. All those coastal states are real. I guess New Mexico is real.
Nevada's real.
Nevada's real.
All that Vegas money is going somewhere.
It's just those in-between states like Idaho, Montana, Wyoming. New Mexico's kind of on the cusp for me. I'm not sure.
I think Colorado's real.
Oh yeah, Colorado. I forgot about that.
Nebraska. Nebraska's not a real place though. Nebraska's fake.
My birth dad lives there, but I'm still not convinced it's real for some reason.
All I know about Nebraska is corn, and Ohio has corn. So therefore, it don't got nothing. It's not real.
Yeah, that's on my bucket list now. I gotta go to Montana. Have to go to Montana just to like prove it's a real place because I don't think it is.
I need to get what I got an invitation to go to LA next summer, so I think I might have to make a trip. That our guy G, he was like, bro, crib's open all summer. Come visit me in LA.
He lives in LA and he's at Ohio State.
That's what I'm talking about, bro. He woke up and said, I want to go to Ohio and study journalism.
G's an interesting guy. Shout out to G, man. That's my guy. Shout out to G. Hope he watches this episode, and I'll know he did watch it if he gets to this point because I'm shouting him out at about 2 hours and 40 minutes in. So shout out to G.
Hey, I'm cooking him. If we get to next week and I walk into work and he doesn't say anything about it, I'm cooking him. It's not a real one.
I'm on his case, man. I'm on his case. I might just ignore him. Like every time he says what's up to me, I'm gonna just ignore him. Just ignore him. Hey, I didn't know he was from. I did not know he was from Cali.
Devin, bro. Devin, this guy, every time Tyrik walks into work, he goes, "Oh, yo, what up? Reek knows hoops."
and I'm just. I think it's funny. I say what's up to him, and I'm just sitting there thinking, I'm like, how did he know that? Because I don't post my YouTube anymore. It's been a while since I have. I'm like, how does he know that?
It's because of Zoom, bro.
Yeah, I think on my Zoom it's my logo.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, makes sense.
That's too funny.
That's really.
I'd be so confused if someone called me Run the NBA in day-to-day life. That should be catching me off guard. No.
Maybe he watches the pod because my name does say Rick Knows Who. Maybe he's a firm tuner in of the pod.
Tyrik's about to go through a rebrand, bro. That's Freak Knows Riz only. The stuff that you were saying to me last week, bro. This dude is a Riz monster.
I just give good advice, man. That's all it is. I give good advice. I'm a good friend. I give good advice.
Hey, Devin, don't let him lie to you. Tyrik spits crazy game.
I don't. I give my guys tools to spit game if they need it. When it comes to myself, though, I don't really be spitting game. I'll just be chilling. I'll just be cool. Nothing special, man. Nothing special.
Hey, man, watch now. The real plot twist. This dude Dev has a side channel called Run the Riz, and he just be spitting the crazy. He just be spitting the craziest game out of anybody I've ever seen in my life.
Maybe he does.
Yeah, I'd have to have time for that.
Have to have time.
The Riz takes time, man. The Riz takes time.
That does not exist at the moment. That is for sure.
Riz
That,
the NBA.
We found time when it came upon us at the beginning of school, and since it has left, it is not going to be coming back anytime soon. I don't think.
Found time. Hey, man,
It's been a minute since you dropped the vid, hasn't it?
Yeah, I dropped my Chua one about 3 weeks ago now, I think. So we'll see over the break. I'll have a bit more time, although I think I'm going to be on the road for a week, I think. So might not even have that. So we'll see. But
man, imagine if we were baseball fans. Just think about it. Like the prime of their season is like when school is out. Like being like basketball is almost exclusively like starts during school, and then when school ends, you have like the playoffs, and that's it. But like the whole regular season is like busy time. There's like winter break in there, but besides that, it's like really the NBA off season is the least busy time for students.
yeah. Although to be fair, I haven't really had a summer off in a while, but for most students that aren't in an engineering program that has them working pretty much every semester, you're good.
That is terrible.
Although I might have a summer off this summer, maybe. Actually, ideal world, I'll be working for 16 months at an internship, so that will be ideal. But if not, then I'll just have 4 months off, which I'll also not complain about.
Will it be a paid internship?
Yeah, it will be.
W.
Yeah, it'll be a engineering type money internship, which is welcome for sure. Pay off some of those, some of the many costs.
Jeez.
Nothing like the first big kid job, man. I'm still waiting on that one. Still making those college student low wage jobs, bro.
Yeah,
Gabe, apply the Blue Jackets when those apps open up, bro. I'm telling you. I love it there. Great organization. Apply. I don't know what you want to do, but apply. You'll learn something.
I'll just apply for them all.
Apply. Yeah. They got a lot of different departments, so you could probably find something that you're interested in.
I just gotta learn hockey, man. I know both of y'all gotta put me on because I definitely have to know the least amount of hockey after 3 years.
I barely know. I don't know that much. I know the players on our team. I know most of the rules now from just watching. Still don't understand some of them, but for the most part, that's all you need to know. Like honestly,
as far as and obviously there's nuance at the higher level, but from an understanding standpoint. Like hockey is definitely one of the least nuanced to be able to understand and enjoy. It's not that deep.
It's really not.
To watch and enjoy it, yeah, bro. You just gotta see some people like couple rough checks, rough each other up, score a couple goals. Hey man, if I can tell you what a slap shot and a one timer is, I think I'm there.
Like I learned that there's offsides in hockey, and I know what it looks like. I know
when the player crosses before the puck, man.
Yeah, but I never understood. Like, I didn't know that that was the thing in hockey, and so I started watching. I know some of the penalties, like high sticking, stuff like that, tripping. I know that stuff. Other than that, there's not really that much to know. Like, it's pretty simple. It's pretty simple. Has a lot of basketball to it when you look at it, man. Like a little bit of basketball to it.
It is 5-on-5, so it does help.
Nice mix.
It's just they said let's mix up basketball and soccer and put it on ice. I still don't understand. Like, have you guys been ice skating?
I can't ice skate. I cannot ice skate.
I never played organized hockey, but like before I played senior year basketball in grade 10 through 12, I was like a regular playing hockey on the outdoor rinks with all the hockey guys. Yeah, I never played organized, but I was regularly playing.
I don't know how you do that, because even I can start doing decent on ice skates, but like I could not play a sport well on ice skates. Or if somebody touched me with any significant contact while I was ice skating, I'm tumbling.
Bro, it's honestly
I still am too.
It's honestly so like fascinating watching like professionals, because I'm like, just the skating part of it is like impeccable to me. I'm like, I don't know how they do this, because I tried skating one time when I was probably like 9 years old, couldn't do it, never tried it again. 13 years later, never tried it again, and I don't plan on trying it anytime soon. I cannot skate.
So
I can't ice skate.
That's just such a rarity here.
It's just like.
It's such a rarity, but there's not being able to skate. There's just so many outdoor rinks around. It's just the thing. Like you'll be out as a 3 or 4 year old, and you're like you got your little skates on, you got the chair that you're pushing ahead of you for balance, and you're just out there figuring it out. And by the time you're 5 or 6, if not younger, because I'm pretty sure hockey leagues start when you're 4, and you're good to go. Like,
welcome to Canada, man.
I obviously grew up in the wrong country. Obviously, I should have been Canadian.
Although I will admit it is a slowly dying thing because of how stupidly expensive they're making it. But that's a whole other story. But yeah.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised Tyrik isn't a footballer, man. It's the British guy out here.
I used to be, man. I used to be nice, like back in the day. I found basketball, and I like basketball a little more.
Yeah, that's how I was too. Like, soccer was my first sport, and I was better at it. But I enjoyed basketball more. I still played soccer all the way through school, but I just enjoyed basketball more.
I was in the wrong thing, man. I was in a baseball family, but I was just never a good baseball player. So then I dropped off the face of the earth of sports.
Bro, baseball, like, it's so funny. Basketball is probably my worst sport out of everything. I played everything growing up, like except for like hockey, but every team sport like soccer, baseball, basketball, football, played everything. Basketball is the last thing I really tried, and it ended up being my favorite sport. But that was my worst sport growing up. Like baseball was probably my best, honestly, Gabe. I'm not gonna lie to you. Baseball was probably my best sport.
Basketball is the only one I really didn't try. I did football. I played soccer like briefly. I was actually pretty good at soccer, but then I quit because they didn't keep score because we were kindergartners, and I was like, if I can't win, I'm not playing. So that's how you know I emphasize winning over any aspect of the sport. But like just I don't know. I think when I like as a young kid, I just did not have that work ethic built into me yet. So like through that Pee-wee stuff, I was just not that great at anything because I wasn't working hard enough to really get there. So it took until getting to high school and like I don't know. But I think it took a little like getting to high school and like the stuff I was involved in high school, I was way better at than anything I did in like elementary or middle school because I think I just naturally worked a little bit more for it.
Yeah, for sure. Sometimes it just takes more time too. Like when I started playing soccer, my first year I rolled around in the grass. The next few years I was terrible, but it just took time, whether it was practice or just physical development or whatever. But I mean, that's just the way it goes sometimes.
It's funny because like when the seasons would come around, like the only kind of practice I would have is just like my dad would get my baseball glove out of my bag and like, okay, let's practice a little bit before the season starts. And that would be that. And the same thing with soccer. Like basketball was the first sport that was like, I think it's because my dad is like a basketball guy that like I actually trained in. Like I actually had to work. And I think that's why I ended up being my best sport. Everything else was just like, I'm just go out here and just see if it works. Like see if I'm good. Which for the most part, I was at least decent at everything. And then basketball came around. It's like, okay, I actually have to work if I want to be good at this. And it just turned into becoming my favorite sport, and now we have a podcast.
That I think that parental influence does ring true, because like my dad, we go to the like occasional like Reds game or Bengals game, support the hometown teams. And so had a little bit of like football and baseball experience as a kid, but really my dad is a big video game guy and still is. So I'm a really big video game guy, and so that's like half of what we talk about anytime we're together. So it's like, yeah. I think what your parents are into will really set those habits early as well for a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely. I can't vouch for that myself because my dad was a baseball and hockey guy, and that was like the only two organized sports I didn't play. But I definitely agree for the most part, for sure.
You missed out. Baseball was so fun as a kid because it was summer, no school, and you get to hit a ball with a bat.
See, that was the thing, though. That's the weird thing about Saskatchewan. See, about like anywhere from 30 minutes to 3 hours drive north of where I was born, there's a ton of lakes, like probably more than there is anywhere in North America. And so like once summer hits, once the end of the school year hits, I shouldn't say no one, but pretty much everyone's at the lakes, especially on weekends. So there's no sports during the summer. Like for so-called summer season, they start at the beginning of April and it ends at the end of June, and that's it, and it's done. So even like when I played competitive soccer for our provincial league when I was like 15, 16, 17, even that only ran till the end of July. That had August off. It's just no one's around. So
they had to get to
it was weird.
Competitive bass fishing.
Yeah,
literally though, fishing's so big up here, man. Like
that's crazy.
That's just how it is. Everyone's just hanging up at the lakes. Everyone's got their cabin or their trailer or is up tenting for a few weeks, or just how it is.
Hey man, yeah. Whenever somebody says good morning to me, I just say morning, because if it was a good morning, I'd be fishing. That's all I'm saying.
I haven't been fishing since I was like 10, bro. It's been so long.
Yeah, it's been a while for me too. Probably 5-6 years now.
I went like a year ago. It was bad.
I'll never forget. I'm still pissed at my parents for this shit, bro. I'm still pissed. Went fishing with my friend and his dad. My friend Cole. He was my guy when I was younger. We went fishing. Caught my first fish. We had went like a few times that summer. Caught my first fish, bro. I was so excited. I'm like, man, I caught a fish. I think it was like a trout. It was a nice size, about this big. I'm like, man, I cannot wait. I don't even really like fish, but I'm like, I caught it. I can't wait to eat it. Yeah. So my friend's dad, he says, all right, I'm going to take it home to clean it, and I'll bring it by your house sometime. Went, cleaned the fish and all that. Brought it by. My parents answered the door. Right? My friend's dad gives him the fish, say, hey, Ty caught this fish, blah, blah, blah. Here you go. They ate my fish, bro. They ate my fish. And I still don't know why they ate it. I'm like, damn, I wanted at least a piece of it. Like, I'm still mad at them about that, man. Like, that hurt my heart, bro. Like, caught my first and only fish ever, and they ate it. Like, damn, I was crushed.
That's traumatic. Like, get mad. Like, I would get mad when my parents eat like my leftover McDonald's.
I think their reasoning was, and they might have had a point, is because I didn't really like eat fish, right? Like I didn't eat fish back then, but still could have asked me. Like you could have been like, "Hey, do you want some? You caught it." Like, nah, they just ate it. I'm like, damn, y'all are sick. Man, I'm gonna bring that up during Thanksgiving. Like, remember when y'all ate my fish? They probably don't remember it, but I do. I will never forget that.
That's so funny. Dude, bro, I feel like there's a thing with family stories. Every single family event I go to, some of the same 5 stories are gonna get brought up.
Every time.
Every time I'm with my dad, one of us will end up bringing up how when I was like 2 years old, probably not even, he was watching me and my sister, and he fell asleep on the couch. And he woke up, and I was pouring milk into a glass, but there was no more milk in the gallon because I just poured all the milk out there. Like, it filled up the cup. It just went all over the floor while he was asleep. And so we just think of that. Or, like, there's another, my dad was pushing me on the swing, and my sister, like, he turned around. She just wasn't there no more. And we lived in a trailer at the time. So, like, then he kept looking around the trailer for her. And while he was walking around, she was walking around at, like, the same rate. So eventually she reappeared before my mom got home. So he, like, averted the crisis. But, like, my sister was almost just gone. She was, like, 4 years old, 3 years old. Just almost traps. So it's just those same stories come up every time, and it hits it's just hilarious. And I don't know why it's hilarious every time, but it just never gets old.
That's funny because it really is the same, like 5 or 6 stories that always get brought up because they're just significant family moments that just people remember. It's like, it's funny looking back at it, but at the time it was like, damn, it's kind of some BS. I'm trying to think of one that's podcast. The one that my parents always bring up, and I don't really remember this because me and my older sister, we used to fight all the time. But apparently there was one time, because my older sister, she's like 2.5 years older than me. My parents always bring this up. They said there was this one time we got into a fight, and apparently I whooped her so bad, like she stopped messing with me. Like that was the last time she ever messed with me. And I'm like, I don't remember this fight, but my parents swear by it. I'm like, I do not remember this at all.
He's legendary, bro. He's UFC.
It must have been like some WWE style fight, man. That was during the WWE era where like that was my personality.
That is too legit because I feel like me and my sister used to go at it all the time. And like, bro, when I was really young, she would always just like put a blanket over my head and just like wrap it there. And bro, that was like the most like traumatizing, like claustrophobic experience ever. Like I was in hell trying to get out, like this blanket like all the way over my head, like trying to get out of there. And like she didn't think nothing of it at the time, and neither did I. Bro, that was some crazy stuff. But then, bro, we used to always just like wrestle so you could like pin the other one down longer. And that for real probably just went on until like she started dating and then was like hanging out with boyfriends and stuff all the time. And we just kind of grew out of it. But literally, and so we were probably like 10 and 12 damn near. Like we just be wrestling on the floor all the time, around the carpet, knocking stuff over just all the time.
It's so weird having an older sister, like, because I didn't have a brother until I was 17. Like I had my brother, he was late. He came into my life very late. So like I was always around girls because it was my older sister, then me, and then the twins. And then my younger sister came like some years later. But growing up, like me and my older sister, like we were like best friends. Like you said, like we always used to like play fight and all that. Like we were like best friends. And then we went through a stretch where it's like we hated each other, and now we're back to being like good friends. It's so weird. It's so weird having siblings, bro. But it's like something that you wouldn't trade for anything.
Yeah, man. I only have one sibling, but it's like about the same deal. I can't say we like hated each other, but definitely once that like dating first starts, and then you get to like high school, and you both got your own activities, and you're like doing your own thing. It's like there's a little bit of a distance and a rift there, but then like you get out of school, and it's like back to before, kind of closer to that.
Big facts.
Yeah, definitely. I can't say I experienced it the same way, but that's probably just because my sister is like 7.5 years younger, so it's a bit of a different dynamic where it was like I was her brother, but at the same time it's like I don't want to say I felt like a parent, but it's different than like if your sibling's a couple years younger. It's definitely a true big brother role, so to speak.
You can attest to this. Being a big brother, I think, is like the best thing in the world.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Like, I love being the big brother, especially like when my youngest sister was born. Like, that was just like like I remember that moment, like holding her for the first time. Like, I felt like a dad almost. It's like, damn, like this is such a little person. It's just like I would not trade being a big brother for anything, man.
No, facts. Me neither. It's a great experience.
Yeah. As the youngest, I feel like that'll be me being like an uncle, rather than being like rather than being like a big. Because my parents are done. They're done. I can tell you with 100% confidence. Like At least I don't. Maybe my dad pulled something out of nowhere. Like my mom is 100% for sure. Like biological, like she's done. But if my dad pulls something out, I'll be amazed. I'll be amazed. But I think the next time there's a baby born into my family, it'll be my sister. I can tell you it ain't gonna be for me because
you don't got no time for that, bro.
You can't reproduce. Hey man, you can't reproduce by yourself. I'll tell you that much. So it ain't gonna be me. But hey, if it's if I end up being a little uncle, I think that will be dope. But that big brother energy of like, if somebody's picking on your little sister at school, they're going, I'm gonna get my brother on you.
Exactly.
You that man. Exactly. You're him.
And I fight little kids too, so it's like, I'm just kidding. Cut that out the pod. I be telling my little sister that too. I'd be like, tell him you have a crazy big brother, and he can fight. Like, just tell him that
he fights kids. He fights kids, man.
They want to get their parents. I will fight them too. Like nobody messes with my little sister like this. I can't allow that to happen.
Yeah, I feel that. Although I feel that, but it worked out for me because I worked at the before and after school program my grade 8 year elementary school, so everyone she went to class with knew me. So I already had the relationship formed. It was all good.
Man, I don't be taking it easy on the kids, man. I was at a family event last year. My little cousin, he's like 7. He was like, I'm faster than you. I bet I can beat you in a race. And a lot of people, they'll be like, oh, let's see it. Then they'll go like slow on purpose. Bro, we went outside and I dusted him. Because I was like, hey, man, because the one day when he's faster than me, that's going to be sweet.
You have to treat them like that though, because my little sister, I let her beat me at soccer one time. This was like maybe last summer, like not this past summer, but the year before, like 2021. Let her beat me one time. That's the only time she ever beat me at anything. I always beat her at everything else. She still brings that up. She's like, I beat you at soccer. I'm like,
never hear the end of it.
I'm like, Maya, I beat you every other time, and I beat you at everything else that we do. She's like, well, I beat you at soccer. I'm like, okay.
Bro,
should have never let her win. I should have just won.
Older siblings are kryptonite, bro. When I was in Alabama the other year on vacation in Gulf Shores, we were at this like outdoor like food place, and they had this like giant Connect 4 board, probably like 4 or 5 feet tall. Bro, I was running everybody's pockets. There were like 8 of us that went on that trip because it was like me, my sister, my 2 stepsisters, like mom, stepdad, and then like I had a friend come and my sister had her boyfriend come. So there was like a big group of us. I beat everybody. I even beat some random people. I beat some people twice. I was on like a 10-match Connect 4 winning streak, just absolutely bullying everybody's pockets, bro. My sister steps up for the first time. I was cooked. I was cooked right away. And it's like the older siblings be your kryptonite every single time. And even in like video games and stuff, like I would beat my sister at most stuff because I played a lot more video games. But bro, if you turned on Mario Kart Wii, she'll pick Baby Peach with the bullet bike every time. And I would be cooked. I would be cooked by Baby Peach on Mario Kart Wii every time.
Man's is like 0 for 10 against his older sister.
Bro, older siblings are for real kryptonite. Like, you just cannot win. And then because even now, the last time we went to my dad's house together, we played this board game, bro. It was called Ticket to Ride, and you had to build these like railroad tracks across the country. Yeah. Bro, I had like one railroad track left in the middle of nowhere, just to like basically I would have put myself in a really good position to win. Like, it was like the last thing I needed. Bro, without even breaking a sweat, she just goes in that exact spot. And I just like, my jaw just drops. And she's like, oh, are you about to play there? And I'm like, there is no fucking way. And she's like, Oh, and she does it every single time. She's like, "Oh, I'll take it back. I don't want to ruin your whole game like that. Like, I'll go somewhere else if you really need me to." I'm like, "Don't patronize me."
She
know
knew
exactly what you're doing, bro.
She knew exactly what she was doing.
She will literally throw me into shambles and then play like the super guilty card. Like, oh no, I'll take it back. I'll do something different. Like
that family rivalry.
Game,
that family rivalry is something else, man. It's something
it really
else.
is.
The sibling rivalry is so real.
That game to be doing that though, for real.
I've never heard of that game. I'm not hip.
Yeah, bro.
I only knew of it because of my ex, and we started playing it together. Otherwise, I'd have no idea either. So, but that's because she lives like an hour from a town of a couple hundred people, and they play a ton of board games. So she's in the know.
Bro, yeah. My sister somehow she just always finds a way to give me specifically the L. And even, bro, she just got her college degree in August. So now it's like, now I gotta finish strong.
Dang, she beat you in the degree too.
Can't come in. I mean, she's 2 years older than me. So if I
I'm just playing.
Hey man.
Brogan defensive, man. That family rivalry do something.
Nah, bro. Hey, listen. Like, I don't know if you you said like maybe with your older sister. I don't know if you have that sibling rivalry with like one sibling in specific.
We all kind of compete with each other. Like with the twins, like they're always talking about like, I'm gonna make more money than you. I'm gonna be like, well, you're gonna be in school forever because one of them wants to be like a nurse or something. Like, well, you're gonna be in school forever. So like by the time you start making that money, I'm already be like halfway through my career. Like we just be talking stuff to each other. Like that's just how it is with your siblings, man. Like it's all fun though, but you kind of gotta talk a little shit with them.
You have to. When I'm taking that many L's, bro, I gotta talk my trash whenever I can.
My biggest rivalry is probably with my dad on the basketball court, bro. Like, because when I started playing basketball, like how you mentioned, Gabe, like sometimes when you're playing against kids, you let them win. My dad never let me win. Like it was always like war. Like I felt like it was always game 7 of the finals. He would always beat me. Like he always just play 21, just me and him would always beat me. Like I think the first time I beat him, I might have been like 11 or 12. It took me like 2 years to beat him. Like, that's probably my biggest op in the family. Like we used to really beef on the basketball court. Still do to this day. Honestly, every time we play, it's still beef. But that's my guy though. At the same time.
Yeah, I feel that too. At least until my dad tore his ACL, and then it got a bit easier. So, man had a career-ending injury.
He got washed.
Man,
washed.
That Sunday morning soccer put an end to it.
Me being like 11 and chubby and playing tag with my sister and my dad, I would really be in shambles. And my sister, bro, she would always cook me in horse or pig or whatever. So as soon as I was like, hey, just play me one-on-one though. And she's like 5'2". So every time I was just like packing that just out of this world. I took it personally.
Is she an athlete? Is she an athlete or is she just like LeBron when she goes against you and everything?
Nah, bro. She was in color guard in high school. She was pretty good at softball through like middle school. She did some decently athletic stuff, but she don't feel like she don't work out now or nothing. She just be going to work and going home. Like
she just shows up when it's time to compete with you. That's all it is.
She just is really good at running my pockets.
That's really your biggest op. That's crazy. That is crazy.
Yeah.
And this turned into like a Thanksgiving episode without even trying.
No doubt.
Talking about family and stuff. Yeah.
You got to run the pockets of the whole family at every moment necessary, bro. Like,
you got to.
Something about like competing with family, like, it's always going to be healthy, but at the same time, I'm like, man, I got to be all y'all out of everything just because for the family name.
It's beef, low-key. Like, those are your biggest rivals. You got to be better at them when you're competing against each other.
Facts.
I know, bro. I like my sister's getting married next year, bro. I'm like, dang, you beat me to the punch because I'm like, she's gonna be, I think, 23 when she gets married, bro. I'm 20 now. I'm not gonna meet somebody and be married
Within
by
3
when
years.
I'm 23. Like, I'm cooked. I'm cooked. She beat me to the punch on that.
All the good to her. I do not want to be married at 23, so that's okay by me.
Me neither.
I'd be okay with that one.
Well, given I turned 23 in less than 2 months, yeah.
This is a year and like 3 months for me. I'll get on that one.
Hey man, yeah. I'm thinking like that. Yeah. I'll be 21 when I graduate college. I need some time, some more time out than just that.
I might have got lucky. My older sister didn't go to college because I'm gonna be the first one with a degree, with my 4-year degree. So
you just dubbed everybody. You just dubbed the whole family.
I got a head start on my sisters. They don't start college until next year.
Yeah, I can't really take much credit on that one either. My sister's in grade 9, so
yeah, this took me 5 years to get my college degree. So
got a bit of a head start.
Yes, my mom got hers, I think, in 5, and then I think my sister took like 4 and some change because she did summer semester. So if I can get mine in 4, I can take a dub for once. I will be in the dub club.
I low-key think 4 is getting kind of rare. I feel like a lot more people take an extra year or 2.
Definitely,
honestly.
I mean, most people with a major switch. I know with my sister, like she hated virtual class, so she really like limited her coursework during COVID. Yeah. So then once like class got more into in person, that's when obviously she came back and finished up. So I think that was probably a pretty common thing too, because I know personally, like I learned way more in in-person classes. I couldn't tell you like 5 things I learned my freshman year.
100%. I remembered things or organized information for my online tests, but that's about as far as that went.
I command F'd and Quizleted my way through freshman year, so. Respectfully, sure. With all due respect.
Yeah, online classes are like it's kind of a waste of time in my opinion. It's just about passing those classes. Because I can't tell you anything I've learned in any online class. Except maybe like a psychology class because it was kind of interesting. But other than that, no, nothing.
Yeah. I've tried to choose courses really like in a way where I'm like, okay, I think this is going to be kind of interesting to me. Like last semester, I took like a writing about video games class. So it was like I was just doing like English work, but I was writing about like I think I did like a final presentation on why like Breath of the Wild's open world design was like perfect or something. And like how like different like game designs like work towards like pushing different types of narrative structures in video games. And so it's like something that I was super personally interested in. And so it made like doing the schoolwork, I was like, dang, I care and I really want to write this. Like, this is cool. Or like now it's like I'm taking a class like how like social media impacts like our social lives and like the way we process things socially. And it's like, yeah, that really has changed the game. And that's like relevant information I want to learn. But then like some classes, it's just like, bro, I don't care at all. Like, get on with it.
Yeah. Welcome to my first 2 years of university for the most part. I feel you on that one.
That's a lot of that gen ed. Like, either you end up with the stuff where it's like, oh, this sucks and this is super boring, or like occasionally you'll like find some requirement that you can meet with a class that's maybe a little under the radar that you're like, oh, this is perfect.
Yeah, a lot of it for me was like courses I had to take. Like I think you get 3 choices of electives throughout engineering, and only one of them's a non-engineering course. But a lot of it's just like general information that's like relevant to some extent, but some of it's just like the boring stuff. Like it's like dealing with the forces of X block and X weight on X building, or it's just dealing with all the forces of stuff. Or then like I took a computer science course. I'm never going to do anything with computer science. I'm not in software engineering. Like stuff like that. That's just the fluff you take in the first couple of years to then now I'm actually like, okay, now I'm talking about water pollutants and wastewater treatment, which to 99% of the population might not be of interest, but to me is a little bit more interesting, at least than what I was doing starting off. So some of it's just the process to get to where you actually want to be learning about, unfortunately.
For sure. Most of college is a waste of time, honestly.
Yeah, it definitely is. There's definitely a more efficient process that should exist, but here we are. So
they need their money. That's all it is.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it is another business, just like any other business.
It's a real solid networking opportunity, I think, for certain people. But I'm not like the heaviest people person in the world. So it is for real. Like my takeaways is more so just the information I'm learning. Because I know who people are, but do I have relationships with those people? Not for real. Because I'm not a huge just like go up and introduce myself to somebody. Yeah. Not that bold.
Yeah, I feel that. That's me too. And engineering here is weird too. Well, it didn't help that I took the year off. So now I think people I took my first 2 years of uni with aren't the same people now. But then like based on where I'm at, like about half of my class all knows each other because they're from the same city, and it's a small enough city that everyone knows each other. So then everyone else is just doing their own thing. So it's a bit of an interesting dynamic that way too. But it is what it is. Like I'm here to get a degree, and the rest of it is what it is at this point.
Small city type college town is pretty interesting, I think, because like I always do wonder what it's like. Where if I'm like, man, what if I was in a college where it's just like the city is just like the college. Like it's just like a college town, and like it's just mainly like people who either went to the school there or work for the school, and it's like that's the basis of it. Like everybody knows each other like that. Where it's like then school here is like, dang, I know like the lifeblood of the city low key is like Ohio State with like football and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's also like the state capital with a lot of like super important like government stuff, and there's obviously like the hockey team and different things like that. So it's like there's definitely more to the city than just the college. It's just like so much stuff going on, and it's just weird. Like it's so different, and I kind of want to see what the other side's like.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say I fully relate because I'd say it's only about half the campus that is, which isn't obviously it's not a small amount, but it's not outrageous. But I don't know if there's anywhere around me that would be that local environment, because even in my hometown, like there's now some campuses for the University of Saskatoon and Regina where I'm at, but half of that is then people that come down from the northern communities. So I feel like there's probably very few schools that are truly local. You're always providing that source to some external community to some extent, at least. But it would be interesting for sure.
Yeah, there's a couple in Ohio. Like I would say Ohio U is probably like college town. Athens is a college town.
Oxford is too, for sure.
Oxford. And then other than that, it's like maybe smaller schools that are like that, but those are like the big schools that come to mind.
Mm-hmm. Which I've been to Oxford, and it is for real cool. Like I like it down there. Their campus is super spread out. Like I thought Ohio State was a big campus, but like I can for real walk anywhere in like 15 minutes max. If you're talking like cross the river and go like to like West Campus, but like places that I need to go, I can get anywhere in like 15 minutes or so. Miami, you can for real walk like in half an hour to get somewhere. Like, and it might not even be like the furthest type distance. Like it might be just for like that's like normal for somebody. So it's like super spread out, but still like a super nice place at the same time.
You should definitely get down to OU if you ever have a chance.
OU, I have a couple ties there, a couple people I know, so might have to get something in the works.
Good times for sure.
OU part, hey man, senior year. Once I'm 21, can legally, go out and enjoy a nice little dance.
Legally have a good night.
Oh, yes. So, once we get to that kind of territory where those things can legally occur while following the rules and the laws,
Which
really
we
have
do
to
on this
experience
podcast.
that.
We follow
We
the
follow the
laws.
laws.
Of course.
I actually, first of all, I am a law follower, thick and thin. I don't even own a fake ID. I think I'm in like a super minority.
I never had one either. I didn't have a reason to get one, but
Me neither.
never occurred to me to buy one, honestly.
Rule following weekly.
That's us. That is us. But we are 3.5 hours in, fellas. Anything else before we wrap up? Because it is almost 1 a.m. and I need to hop in the shower.
Hey,
I
bro.
feel that it is getting
Top
there.
one after show in the history of the pod.
Hey, for sure. People made it
feel
this
like it
far.
just went.
Yeah. Good content. Heard some stories. My parents eating my fish.
It is Tyrik.
Gabe's dad losing his sister, allegedly. Got some stories on the pod. We learned Devin's dad towards ACL, and that's how Dev started beating him at every sport. Got some stories.
Devin's dad is Klay Thompson. What?
Yeah, if he was 5'10", maybe, but yeah. But yeah, if you guys did make it this far, we definitely appreciate you guys tuning in and appreciate the continued support. Be sure to leave your thoughts on the basketball-related content at the beginning of the episode, as far as we are now almost a quarter into the season. So be sure to leave your thoughts down below in the comments. We appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.